Hello, everyone. Good morning, good
Morning,
afternoon, good
everybody.
evening.
Hello, 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 Gertrude. Hello, Ruth.
I know it's morning for you, Gertrude. It's evening for me,
Good to
and it
see
must be
everyone.
afternoon for you,
Afternoon
Sarah.
for me.
Welcome, ladies. Welcome to our last day of our May online summits. Yesterday we had, oh, we've never had such challenges with technology
Yeah.
across the globe. Actually, in the different parts of the world that we're in, we really struggle to come on, and we just want to welcome those that are joining us, whether you're on Facebook or you are on YouTube, LinkedIn. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Today is our last day for the May online summit. My name is Ruth Dengwani. I'm joining you from Harare in Zimbabwe. Ladies, introduce yourselves and welcome.
Shall I go ahead? Sarah Jillian in
I'm
Toronto,
Gertrude
Canada.
Mache,
Oh, oh, same time.
and Gertrude Mache in Wellington, not Wellington, New Zealand. I'm now in Melbourne, Australia. I have to remember where I am, Ruth. Okay, so we have our first up. Do you have the bio?
Um, I'm just trying to see if we have Becca's bio. No, I don't have her bio. No bio
Get
for
it from
Becca.
here.
Okay.
All the bios should be on. Okay, hold on. They were supposed to be on the drive.
So Sarah was telling me that their temperature is
Terry is
about
struggling to get
14.
today. Celsius.
Yeah, and that's warm. And I'm telling you, that's my temperature and I'm cold.
I know. I was saying, Gertrude, how all of a sudden it became warm in Toronto, and we're feeling like, oh my God, people are running around with shorts on, and it was like 15 degrees this morning, and Ruth was saying that that's her winter temperature, and people are running around in shorts at 15, even 12 degrees here. We think it's hot.
That's
So
so
funny.
crazy.
Funny, yeah,
The world is different.
it is.
All right, ladies. So I
It is.
found the bio, and I will go ahead and read that. So Becca Gardner is the founder and CEO of Alt Distilling and the innovator behind Naked Lady. She's committed to making lasting change to the culture of drinking by creating a safe and emotionally rewarding experience through her non-alcoholic spirits and promoting realness. Becca's career in strategy consulting, frequently working while traveling and dining with clients, which would lead to alcohol heavy lifestyles. Struggling with burnout after a decade in the field, Becca took a sabbatical in London, where she was romanticized by the accessibility of non alcoholic beverages. Always one to stand up for a cause, she left wanting to make this type of lifestyle choice easily attainable for those in the US, where drinks are often encouraged in both work and social spaces. Becca was inspired to create a brand that reignites the social aspect of drinking without the pressure of induced courage of alcohol. Recognizing that many non drinkers avoid events simply because of the questioning they receive, Becca has created a space where where what people drink is not the focus. So, this is
That sounds
Becca.
interesting.
I love this concept. Being a
Yeah.
non-drinker myself, I've always
Yeah.
struggled in a social setting when I tell people that I don't drink, and I make people very uncomfortable. And sometimes people insist you drink even if you don't want to. So thank you,
That's right.
Becca, for your contribution.
Hmm. Very true. I'm the same way, Gertrude. I don't drink either.
Right.
It just upsets my stomach. And I always find you get a lot of pressure from people. They don't understand it. You just don't like it. It doesn't resonate with you, really. Well, this should be interesting.
Yeah, people will
I'm
put you
looking forward
under
to it.
pressure because they feel uncomfortable for not drinking.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's
I mean, it's just a
more
natural, if you just naturally just don't like drinking.
about them.
Yeah, no, it's not about
Yeah.
anybody. It's just about just
So
not feeling like if I
I
have a drink, like about a
appear
half
to
an
be
hour later, I
having
have a headache, and then
another
I
technical
feel
issue.
tired.
What is this?
Should I play?
My name is Becca.
Going from the drive.
I was young, and I was one of those kids that just never really felt like I fit in to any particular crowd. I was homeschooled growing up on a farm, and when I started to get a little bit older, I found that alcohol really allowed me to feel like less of an outsider. And when I had a series of kind of difficult things happen in my life about 5, 6 years ago, I realized that I needed to remove alcohol from my shelf of coping mechanisms because it was a tool that I no longer wanted to be a part of my toolkit. And I have to say, giving up alcohol was the best decision I could have possibly made for myself. But on the flip side, I quickly realized that I felt alienated from so many of the experiences that I love to enjoy, such as going out with friends or dancing or even just celebrating. And I just kind of sat with that discomfort with my own experience. And it was so frustrating because giving up alcohol was such a positive thing in my life, but there was this loneliness and this alienation that came along with it. And at this point, I was 31, 32, and I'd been living in New York City for about 11 years. I left Kentucky, moved to New York, and I knew that I wanted to do something different than the job I'd had for 10 years. And if I asked anybody who knew me, they said that it made sense to see me someday as an entrepreneur. I guess I'd always been a little bit entrepreneurial in the ways that I thought about different problems. But I knew I needed to take some time to figure out what that next step was, because while I wanted to build something and I wanted to make a positive impact, the actual thing that I would do escaped me a bit. But at the same time, I was still really wrestling with my own kind of, discontentedness with my sobriety, which was such a positive thing in so many ways. And so 3 summers ago, I was spending some time in London interviewing for what at the time was my dream job. I was going to be working on business development with a private members club that was focused on social impact, and it just hit everything for me. But while I was in London, I became romanticized by mocktails. So instead of, saying yes to that job, I ended up extending my trip and going to every bar and restaurant I could find that offered non-alc options. And I always say that the strongest cocktail I had in my life was one particular evening in the UK when I had a non-alcoholic Manhattan at Dishoom. And it was in that moment that I realized that making a strong decision for myself was something that didn't need to be associated with all of these unnecessary compromises. I still could live a beautiful, social, vibrant life. I could go out and order like the people around me. I didn't have to give those things up, the flavors, the experiences. And so I ended up turning down the job. and moving from New York back into my parents' basement in central Kentucky to try to figure out how to make the experiences I'd had in the UK accessible to everyone. Because what I realized is that there would be so many more individuals that would feel like they didn't always have to drink or drink so much if they really had compelling alternatives. And, you know, I had a background in business, not science or specifically entrepreneurship. And so I really was starting just completely from scratch. I had not worked in the beverage industry, but I knew I wanted to invent a line of products that could be used interchangeably with the spirits that people knew and loved. And so I figured Kentucky had to be the place that I did this. I grew up on a big farm along the Bourbon Trail, which is really the heart of spirits country. And I sat with this idea for a long time, and I asked as many people as I knew what their opinions were on the idea. And in a place like Kentucky, a lot of people will tell you that you're crazy to even think of removing alcohol from spirits. But I knew that I wanted to create something authentic. And I love the saying that uncertainty craves authenticity. So I was wrestling with this question: how could I make real spirits that didn't have alcohol? Because I think the alcohol for many folks is what gives a spirit its inherent value. And so I knew that I needed to create something that tasted amazing, but I also knew that I needed to put something in the place of the alcohol that was really what gave these products a lot of value to so many individuals. And that's when I really landed on the conviction that this needed to be a beautiful brand. It needed to be an artistic brand. It needed to be a brand that showed people that instead of there being less of them in moments where they might drink beyond what was comfortable for them or drink at all if that wasn't the decision that really aligned with their values, instead of that, there could be more them. And I was stuck with this idea that less alcohol meant more you. And so that was really the seed for the brand. And that's how I came up with the idea for the name, Nate Lady. I knew that I wanted this company to have a muse. There's so many spirits companies, especially whiskey and bourbon companies, that are named after men. I wanted this to be named after my heroine of sorts, but I also didn't want to be so prescriptive. And that's how I landed on the Southern ubiquitous name Lady for a woman. But then I was reflecting on my own experience of giving up alcohol. And it had been one that initially had been celebratory, but also somewhat alienating. There was this nakedness to my own experience. But I started to fall in love with that experience and adopted this idea of naked as living undisguised. And so you could say that the, I guess, subtext for Naked Lady is really living authentically as the woman I am. And it's really an encouragement to others, men, women, however someone identifies, to do the same. And so I got working and was trying to figure out how I could make these spirits from real spirits themselves. And along the way, I met some incredible individuals who really helped step into the science of this process. And, you know, it's been very difficult because we have been trying to create a new product in a disruptive category. But at the same time, there were so many things that I didn't want to compromise along the way. I really wanted to work with people that understood the true impact that this company could make. And, you know, in addition to making people feel included, I think there is this idea that we also, by doing so, are creating safer spaces. And so it has taken some time to find the right individuals, the right partners. But over the last 2 years, we have crafted a non-alcoholic gin, a non-alcoholic tequila, and a non-alcoholic whiskey that can be used exactly the same as their alcoholic counterparts. And just about a month and a half ago, we did our first bottling run. And that was such an exciting moment. I was trying to think along the way, the moments that really forced me amidst the chaos to take pause. And I might get emotional saying this, but it was holding that bottle and knowing everything that went into it. And it was in that moment, even before selling a single bottle, that I realized that I can do big things. I can do big things to create a positive social impact. I can do big things that I think of from my own experience. And I've always lived with this conviction that one of my greatest strengths, and I honestly think it's a strength that is shared by so many, is that I have taken my trauma and been able to turn it into creativity and clarity to hopefully support others in making really strong, powerful decisions for themselves. And so right now we are really just getting moving. I was working on this project on my own for about a year and a half. And over the last several months, I have been able to hire 3 employees, my younger sister being one of them. I was also able to hire an incredible woman who has a lot of experience in sales and marketing in the beverage industry. And she made a decision to leave her executive role at another company to help me bring this company to the world, because we have big dreams. You know, we're starting with these 3 products and we're focusing on Louisville and Nashville, which is located close to here. But this woman and I have such shared values. Our dream at the end of the day is to be able to use this company as a sounding board, or a launch pad, I should say, to support other women as they pursue bringing their own value-informed creative ideas to life. And honestly, I'm realizing there's so much value in having to do it first for myself. I have to say, I did not know it would be so difficult. And I studied entrepreneurship in business school, and I had worked in strategy consulting for 10 years. But I have realized that starting something of your own from scratch is truly one of the most humbling experiences in the world. It's every day that I'm making a mistake and learning several new things. And I sometimes look back at where I was a year ago or the year before. And while there's this part of me that wants to be critical, I am usually overwhelmed with compassion, because I think I can say that there is certainly one thing true about this entire experience, and that it's that there's not been a single moment where I've decided to give up. And right now, we're at this really exciting point, is even on the hardest days, I just didn't give up. And I sometimes reflect on why that is true, because I think there are often moments that by some individual standards might have made sense to give up, you know, whether it was when I was cashing out my 401k, or after living, you know, a pretty successful life in New York, deciding to quit that so I could move back into my parents' basement and put my money into research and development for this company. And, you know, while there are certainly people around me that would say these things are crazy, I just don't think there was a day when I stopped believing how important this is. And I don't think I will stop believing that, or stop believing that it's important that I spend my time focusing on this, until I see the culture surrounding drinking shift to become more radically inclusive, where everyone has a safe seat at the table. And frankly, I do believe that that means a world where social experiences, whether they are first dates or celebrations or weddings or meeting up with colleagues, are not so centrally defined by a single ingredient, that being alcohol. You know, it's interesting, when I was even thinking about the seed of the idea for this company, I had several focus groups and I interviewed so many different people. And one thing I realized is that while the individuals that will openly identify as an alcoholic are few and far between, it seemed like most people, especially women, had stories, I would say not positive stories, about their experiences with alcohol at some point in their life. And I have been sitting with that. You know, I think it would have been hard to necessarily justify risking so much to build a business if I really was quite alone in my experience of the negative sides of alcohol. But it seemed to be so incredibly pervasive that it was honestly kind of shocking to see that more hadn't been done about creating more radically inclusive spaces that were safer for all individuals involved. And so I think we're at this point where we are really well positioned to start to enter the market and to connect with so many individuals and show them that there are other ways to enjoy these experiences that are so central to the human experience. We come together. A drink is a tool. It's a social tool. It is a reason. It is an artifact of so many of these moments. And I don't believe that just because someone gives up alcohol, that they also must give that up too. And so right now we're really focusing, like I mentioned, on Louisville and Nashville. And we are in the next month moving to Los Angeles to start showing up in places there. But I think we will continue to move along as long as we see that there is a need. And I am just so excited for that.
Fantastic. What is intriguing about your story, Becca, is it is a more common story than it's not.
Yes.
You can talk to any woman and they will have 1, 2, 3, 4 stories of incidents, things that have happened to them under the influence. And I personally have never been a big drinker. I think it's just because my dad didn't drink, nobody in my family drank, and I was always an outsider as a teenager because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even as an adult, I lived in Cape Town, and Cape Town is wine country. Everybody in Cape Town drinks.
Right.
My husband was a doctor, and we would go out to events and we would socialize, and people were uncomfortable being around me because I didn't drink. I made people uncomfortable, and it was just the craziest experience. Or sometimes I was made to feel like I wasn't very literate because I didn't understand wines and anything to do with wine. And I just stuck to my principles. I wouldn't drink to please anybody else, but I've always been on the fringes. And when I saw your brand, I got really excited because, even just looking at the packaging, you could be standing in a bar with friends, drinking your non-alcoholic drink, and nobody will even know it's non-alcoholic.
Exactly. And that's such an important part about it. It's not only that we wanted to make it inconsequential, but innocuous, so that it was really each individual's decision, as if that was information that they wanted to share about their experience. Because, as you've experienced, there still is so much social stigma surrounding what I think should really be quite a personal decision for folks.
Definitely. Now, if there is an entrepreneur who's listening into this conversation right now, who has an idea, don't know where to start to go into business, you made certain decisions to get to this point.
I did.
Based on how you did it, if you could give 3 pieces of advice, what would they be?
I think the first is to just start with no judgment, because it's not going to be perfect and mistakes will be made. And I think that is a very difficult thing for a lot of first-time entrepreneurs, including myself, to really appreciate, but to just start, to take a chance on yourself. I think the other is to have a very honest conversation with yourself about what you really need to feel safe, secure, and content. And what I realized is that I needed much less financially than I had got it into my head when I was in New York. And if I was really working on what I was passionate about, it was even less. And I think the third is really that it matters who you surround yourself with, the people that you choose to bring into the fold with your idea, with your passion. And I don't just mean in terms of skill sets, because there are so many incredibly talented people in the world, and it's very important to work with people that can complement yours. But I mean in terms of integrity. And I think that if you are working with individuals on your idea, whether it's a co-founder or an early partner, I think you need to make sure that you do share common values and that the people you're working with have integrity, because I think that the absence of that can result in larger problems down the line that are much more complicated to untangle.
It's all about values and principles, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that is everything. Now, your your non-alcoholic drinks are so creative. I would love to show our viewers a few visuals of your brand. Who came up with all of these ideas? How did you come upon the creativity that is behind them? And I'm
So,
going to share your website as well so people
yeah.
can find you. There it is now, displaying at the bottom of the screen.
So I will say that I think something you and I share in common is that we are both artists in different ways. You know, I grew up homeschooled, and so I was always making crafts, and my mom was helping me sell them at different markets. And you know, I studied studio art as my minor in college, and I have always just had this artistic hunger. I love writing. And so I sometimes joke with my friends that Naked Lady is secretly my biggest art project. Um, and it's been so satisfying because I really do think that, you know, in the place of the alcohol, I felt accountability to put something there. And for us, it's art, you know, and I think that this product really must be not only on par with other spirits brands, but have even more to celebrate. I think the X really has a couple different meanings. I think that there is this, you know, the subtle meaning that it doesn't have alcohol. But I also wanted a logo that was simple, that it could travel, that it wasn't prescriptive. So that what we really were celebrating was the beauty of the cocktails, the ingredients, and the experiences that were surrounding the spirit itself.
Oh, I love it.
And I should say, I've had a lot of help along the way. I also say this is a very crowdsourced company. I love getting ideas and input from different individuals, whether they're friends or, you know, different individuals that I meet on LinkedIn, and even my family. You know, there's not been a single decision that I just made without having many conversations first.
That is amazing. So it was almost like a co-creation process.
100%. 100%.
Point. Wow. Now, the influence this is going to have, especially on youth, on teenagers, you know, binge drinking is a big problem in this part of the world. Most of the fatalities in the roads, any accidents that happen in New Zealand and Australia are based around alcohol.
Yes.
How do you think this is going to impact youth, especially in the United States, and just changing the culture around drinking?
I hope it makes a huge impact. I received a compliment a few weeks ago that meant more to me than what it was on the surface. And it was this woman who works with me on PR. And she was telling me that her daughter thinks I'm just so cool. And her daughter is 15. And she thinks Naked Lady is so cool, the branding. And I think that if we can be something that is seen as aspirational and socially accepted by the youth today, so that when they leave the home and they are on campuses, this brand is seen as something that also belongs in the spaces where a lot of alcohol is consumed, I think the impact we can have is tremendous. But I think that that has a lot of implications on our brand. I think that there might be some design choices that might not make quite as much sense to, you know, certain demographics of individuals right now. But I think the young and emerging adults are the individuals who we really want this to especially resonate with.
I absolutely love it. I can actually see a young teenage girl having her birthday party with all these exotic drinks and with her friends, and not having to consume the alcohol to be cool.
Exactly. Exactly, because it's such a disservice to young people to be told that message, you know, that drinking does make you cool, because it does a lot of other things too. And I would argue that it definitely doesn't always make you cool. So
No. Well, this is a movement that you have started, a non-alcoholic movement. How are you going to spread it around the world? Which countries are you in? What are your visions?
Yes, so we're just really getting out of the gate. We've done our first bottling runs, and we're really focusing right now here at home in Louisville, as well as Nashville and Los Angeles. But I think one of the things that makes our company really special and is a way that it will grow is that we like to say that the bartenders are the backbone of this business. So we have had an incredible group of folks from the hospitality industry who are actually the ones that would be pouring this beverage, giving us input on the design of the bottle, the logo itself, the flavor profile. And I think another piece of that that also connects to the creative aspect is a lot of bartenders are actually also something else. And I often find that many of them are artists. So in terms of the branding, the concept, the copy, the marketing, the sales, we really are using this freelance model of trying to give employment opportunities to individuals that are in the industry that could use a little bit more cash to be able to live comfortably. And so I think that that is what feels good and authentic to do, but it's also a great way to spread the word in the news, getting kind of that stamp of approval from the folks that I really would consider the stewards of these spaces. And in addition to that, I've been this way since I stopped drinking, but I continue to kind of sing it from the rooftops. And I hope that I find more and more opportunities in different channels and outlets to be able to share about this new business I'm so excited to bring to the world.
Fantastic. Wow. Now let me take you into the future for my last question.
Okay.
If time was an illusion and your past, your present, your future existed in the same timeline, and I could teleport you to the 100-year-old you, this wise woman who started a revolution around drinking, and you could have a conversation with her based on what you're creating, what you've created, and how you're living your life, what would you say to her?
I think I would tell her to not forget to love and laugh along the way. I think I would know that she's a very intense young woman, and that sometimes the company or the thing that she's focusing on in that specific moment feels like the most important thing, and it's so easy to close everything out. But I can't imagine being 100 and looking back and not remembering to celebrate along the way. I think that is also a very important part of being human and a huge motivator, I think, in giving the strength to work on hard ideas.
Fantastic. Becca, thank you so much for coming online today and sharing this amazing story with us. I'm really happy that you are now part of our community. We have a lot of women with teenage kids who would really resonate with your message and your product. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. These are the kind of entrepreneurs we're looking for. People who are creating businesses that make a difference in the world, and a massive difference. If you're one of those people, get in touch with me. Would love to interview you. In the meantime, Becca, thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, everybody, wherever you are in the world. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. Bye for now.
Wow. You know the pressure in social life.
Yeah.
Just the
Yeah.
pressures, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just not with the youth. Those of us
No.
that have gotten a little bit more mature, it's like, you're not drinking. It's like,
I know. I get it
Exactly.
all the time. I get it all the time. And
Why
I
don't you
always, and
drink?
the only options I find, like a soda. And when you're out, and I'm not big on soda, I find, I don't want Coke because it has caffeine or sugar, and I don't want ginger ale, sugar. These sound like great alternatives. Great.
yeah,
Very good.
I think so
Very
too.
good. And she
Yeah, I
really
can't
found
wait.
a great market there, because a lot of people suffer, especially if you are in corporate sales and you do a lot of entertaining and a lot of travel, as she was. you become an alcohol an alk you know, just
Yes.
from having to entertain people night after night or evening after evening. That's strenuous, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good.
Wow.
It's good. And now that we can socialize a little bit more,
Hmm.
with COVID kind of lifting a little bit and restrictions lifting a little bit. What a time! What a perfect time to do it.
Yes.
During a downtime. Creating something really fantastic like that during a downtime, knowing that it's going to change, and to
Yes,
bring that, to celebrate that. That's nice.
it is.
Very nice.
Ah, okay. Terry, we are moving on. Who is our next speaker?
Our next speaker is Meta Dejan. If you could read that, I can get the video. If you can read her bio.
Smita Das Jane.
Uh
Is
huh.
she the?
They
All
have me
right.
on. Yeah, they have me on the video today.
Okay.
Okay, I'll cue it up. Go for it.
Oh, okay. So Smita Das Jane is the founder and CEO of Empower Yourself. She's a certified executive coach, personal empowerment life coach, and a neuro linguistic practitioner, an IIM and SRCC alumna with 14 plus years of experience in leadership roles with Fortune 500 companies advising Indian and global clients in their business strategies and transformation. She knows that people need more than strategies to succeed. Her Empower Yourself coaching program empowers executives to communicate with confidence and emerge as leaders faster than envisaged.
Bless you.
We can have a video.
the
Here we
the
go.
tricky part, getting the video going.
Yeah, you're right. Hold on a second.
Everything goes okay, and then get that video on.
Mm,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and I practiced the whole time, right?
mm.
Hold on just a second. Let me get there. I am there. Here we
All right.
go. Okay, you got it?
Looks good.
Hi, Gertrude. Thank you for having me here. I am Smita Das Jain, based out of India. I am 36 years old and I am a personal empowerment and executive life coach as well as a writer. My mission in life to empower people to look forward to the day and get up from their bed with a smile on their faces every single day. I know the importance of positive feeling which comes from having control of your time rather than letting time control you. But it wasn't always like that. Up until 2 years ago, I can't even actually describe the space I was in. I always seemed to have too many tasks and too little time on my plate. My work calendar always used to be full of appointments, and I used to run from one meeting to another. Later, during the pandemic, as all of us here, I used to go from one MS Team call to other without knowing where my day went. My work hours often began early in the morning and lasted till late evening. When exhausted, I used to fall asleep on my bed, sometimes with the laptop at my side. My family were never sure about my availability, even during the weekends. I used to work, and only work, not having time for much else. It was not that this is what I wanted to do, but somehow, for some reason, I was sinking deeper and deeper into this cesspool of busyness. Until one day, uh, it was quite some time ago, but I still remember it very clearly. That was the afternoon when the annual promotion list came out in my company that I worked in then. As usual, I was in a series of meetings, too occupied to read my messages and look at calls which were not of clients. So I didn't check. I saw that internal mail, but didn't read it like most of us do when we are busy. It was only late night when I had reached home, had my dinner, and spent some time in my family. When the lights in my home were dark, that I remembered. Okay, that promotion list that I didn't see. I opened the mail to see my name mentioned there. And you know what? I felt so indifferent in seeing my name on that list. Of course, my family was asleep by that time, and I couldn't share the news with anyone. It was right late at night. But you know what the sad part was? I didn't even want to. Despite all the long hours and hard work I was putting in and day out, I felt indifferent in seeing my name on that list. Heck, I didn't even have time to enjoy the promotion, I didn't have time to reap the rewards of my hard work. One positive thing that came out of that incident is the realization that I got that this is not quite right. See, I come from a middle class family. My parents worked hard to give me the education that I got. But I had also slogged hard through my graduation and post graduations and got my degrees from the most prestigious institutes in my country. I was earning a very high salary in a high profile job in a marketing company. And I realized that I haven't slogged all that much. I was not putting in hard work, all that hard work, only to go through my days on an autopilot, working, eating, and sleeping. I was not working for being busy all the time. And that was the day when I decided to control my time rather than let time control me. And then, given that was also the period shortly after that, the pandemic started, and life we knew is never going to be the same. It was never the same. So, like most people, I introspected and I realized that anyway, this life is too short to being unhappy at what you do. See, where not everybody is fortunate, okay, to work in a role that they're passionate about, and that is understandable. But being unhappy at what you do, I mean, if you are living, we spend more time in work than we do at our homes. And if you are unhappy doing what you do day in and day out, I can't even describe what it feels. Back then, I used to get up on Monday mornings and used to count the day for the Fridays. My evenings were spent reading the mornings, looking at my work calendars. On weekends, I used to pray that, let those weekends be forever and let the weekdays don't come. It was not that I wasn't successful. By the yardstick of others, I was doing great at what I am doing. But during my whole 14-year long career, especially the last 3-4 years, there's this inner feeling of dissatisfaction. I was not feeling fulfilled. And I started to question myself, okay, while giving those presentations and winning the jobs for my company, what impact am I leaving in the world? And what impact, leave aside the world, what impact am I having on the people around me? What impact am I having on myself? Is my ambition that much that okay, every year I keep on getting some increments and getting fat bonuses and that's it? I mean, money is important. I'm not saying that money isn't, that you should not strive for money. Money is an important tool to help you fulfill your dreams. But if you are not happy doing what you are and earning that money, then you are paying too high a price. And I didn't want to pay that price. So it took me a long time after that. I mean, I decided that, okay, that this is not how I envisage myself 2 years down the line. I don't want to remain in this world that I have known for 13 to 14 years anymore. But then the question came, what do I want to do? What is my passion? when day in and day out you are busy working in a high pressure job, not even knowing when the weekends are starting, you tend to lose touch with your passions. That was when I spent some time with myself, and given the schedule I was following then, along with my family commitments, I was a working wife as well as a mother. It was hard, but then I decided that it was very very important for me to understand what would I like to do, because I didn't want to be in that position again where I get up in the morning and I'm unhappy right at the start as to how my day is going to go. So I spent time with myself, and then I realized that it's been so long that I had this alone time, that I was no longer sure about my decisions about what I want to do. And then it came to me that we are not alone in this world, even if we think we are not. Despite all that I was feeling from inside, I took a piece of paper and wrote facts as it is. Fact was that I was a healthy person. Fact was that I was surrounded by a wonderful family and friends. It was a fact that I have a lot of qualifications and credibility behind me. And it is a fact that there would be some strengths that took me from where I started in my career to where I had reached at that point of time. It is not easy to survive and to thrive in a high profile consulting job for 13, 14 long years. So I would have had some strengths. And since I could not think of something, I reached out to circle of people who were close to me, not family, but close friends. Because family, they love you very much, but they can't look at you at that impartial lens because of that very same reason. I reached out to my friends, come colleagues who knew me for quite some time, and asked them, okay, tell me, what are the 5 things that come to your mind when you think about me? What do you think are my areas of strengths? And by the end of that week, within a week of this incident, the day that the promotion list came that I described, I had a list of 15 to 20 strengths that people close to me told me with examples that this is what they think of me, this is what they think that I can be good at. And because it came from a third party, it gave me a lot of validation. Then I tapped within myself. I asked myself questions like, when was the last time I went into a state of flow? What is it that I did when I lost all track of time and I kept on doing that activity? What is the common point? Like, of course, I had done different roles during my career, but what is that one common thread that was present across? And after that, essentially pruning, looking at that list, questioning myself, spending time with myself during the evenings while I went about my role in the mornings, I realized that, writing is something that I love to do, that others think are my strong point. And leading and mentoring during my career, helping other people give their best, is something that I'm very good at. And that motivates me. And through that, basically started the process of Smita Das Jain becoming Smita D Jain, as I now call myself. The D is an abbreviation because this is a new start. So I wanted to change the name without changing the name, really. So that's the journey started from Smita Das Jain to become Smita D Jain, a personal empowerment life coach who helps people find time to transform their passions into pursuits so that they work because they want to and not because they have to. Because I want people to enjoy their life. I want people to get up from their bed with smiles every day. When it is a fact that when you are happy, that is when you can give your best to the world. A soul cannot give that feeling of love and positivity to others if he or she does not love himself or herself. Again, that's a fact. So I want people to love themselves first, empower themselves, and then set about what their mission is. It has been a year, it was earlier last year, that without having an alternate plan in place when this incident had happened, I had given my notice and I utilized my notice period to chart my course of action. I joined support groups. I took some courses because writing and coaching is drastically different from the world of strategy and management consulting that I belonged to till about a year or 2 years back. And I did a pivot and I realized that, okay, I have to learn. So I invested in myself and getting some certifications and gaining knowledge. And I realized that the best part in imbibing what you are learning is by doing. And I started my practice both as a writer as well as a professional coach simultaneously while doing my certifications. It's been a year since now, of course, I'm a certified coach, but within a short span of slightly more than a year, I have worked with some wonderful clients, have got the for good fortune to transform their lives. And nothing satisfies me more than seeing a smile on their face, that aha moment when they reach while working with me. And that is when I realize, okay, I have arrived. I have found my purpose. This is what I want to do. And the best part is, it does not even feel like work. So I am happy. I now get up with a bed with the smile on my face and look forward to my day. And I can't ask for anything more in my life. I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and I'm making a change one life at a time and happy about it.
I can feel the energy that you exude as you say those words. It's just incredible what does happen when one finds your real purpose, your vocation, and the reason why you're on the planet. Now, a lot of people are exchanging their hours for dollars. We do it because that's the only thing we know how. It's very difficult to break out of that 9 to 5 job. So, if there was somebody who's listening to us right now, she's stuck, she wants to change her life, she wants to try something new, based on what life has taught you, what 3 nuggets of wisdom could you share for them to
Yeah,
transition and change career?
yeah. Very good question, Gertrude. First point, focus on your passive income. Okay. When we trade our time for dollars or rupees, in my case, since I'm from India, okay, we get salary. That is active income. But obviously, it comes in exchange for our time. Now, in that process, we forget the passive part of it, right? Like, salary is something we earn when we spend our time. The interest is something that comes automatically when there is money in our bank. Okay. This interest is passive income. So, as professionals, when we start our career, we should be practical. It's not that somebody who's starting our career, we can straight away say, follow your passion and do what you want to do. Practicalities get in the way. But what can happen when you start your career? Pay attention to do that passive income. Think about ways apart from interest. What are the other passive income sources? How you can grow that? And if you do, there will come a stage when at some point passive income will be 50% of your total income source. And then you can think about doing a pivot. I mean, that was one of the big driver. One good thing about me is right at the outset when I started my career, I planned my income investments in such a way that at a point of time, I realized that my passive income is more than the active income that I'm doing. And that is not like I was working. It's just, the money was coming because of the way I had planned it around. So that was a big source of, you know, confidence it gave me, because I didn't really depend on a paycheck to set about doing what I was about to do. So that would be the first thing. Second would be quiet time. We all make the mistake of scheduling our day, okay, and we think that is time management. That is not. What we require in this multitasking world is that block of quiet hours to do the work which requires our individual contribution. So what do I want to do? Do I want to achieve? In order to achieve what I want to, what is it that I need to execute? You need some quiet time without the distractions of the internet and phone to do about that. So that is what I do actually. Since about last 2 3 years, every day I have these blocks of 2 quiet hours each, so 4 quiet hours a day, when I function without my cell phone, without internet, without any internal meetings. That is just a time, I call that quiet time. That is the focus hours for me to do about the work that I want to do. The rest of the day, the calls, the meetings, everything comes as usual. But the amount of productivity I achieve in that time is simply incredible. So that is something I would advise. Spend these, block these focus hours and spend that time with yourself. The last, prioritize your 3 important tasks for the day. Okay. We are not meant for multitasking. We are not machines. And instead of having a to-do list of 10 tasks and feeling overwhelmed, decide what are the 3 things that you want to achieve in the month. Chunk down those big goals into fortnightly and weekly targets. Then chunk it down further to 3 important tasks to achieve during the day. As I sit on my desk every morning, I have this yellow sticky paper right at the front of my desk here where I'm speaking to you, which has for every weekday, these are the 3 important tasks I need to achieve during the day. So I know that when I do this, my day is made. And I use that block of focus hours, the quiet time that I spoke about earlier, to achieve that task. If you do that, if you have your priorities right, you will not feel overwhelmed. And that would be the beginning, basically. Okay. You will have then more time to yourself, and then you will start to realize what your strengths are and what your passion, where your passions lie.
I love that. You're very, very systematic in your approach to dealing with these issues, which is really good because a lot of times we get caught in the chaos of life and trying to get things done.
Yeah.
And 3 things are easy to achieve, whereas a task or a list of 10 tasks for the day can feel like you can't achieve it. And then you get to the end of the day, you've only done 3, and you feel like a failure because you haven't done the other 7 things, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then the list keeps on adding, and you are like, okay, where is the time? That's what happens. It
Yeah.
didn't come easy, Gertrude. Life teaches us. So, this is
Yeah.
what life taught me. But I'm happy that I'm in a space that I can use these lessons to help others achieve their goals much sooner than I have achieved for myself.
I love that. Now, getting a coach, I'm just running your website link at the bottom of the screen, lifecoach.com. Getting a
Lifecoachsmitadegen.com. That is.
Yes. Getting a
Hmm.
coach, what does that actually help somebody do? Because a lot of people don't realize the value of having a coach. Tell us a little bit about the benefits of taking you on as a coach.
Hmm. So, a coach, unlike a consultant or a mentor, is not really a, is not really a solution provider, if I have to say in a very clear word. Coaching is a co creative partnership. A coach partners with you to help you arrive at the solution. That's a difference. She won't provide you the solution, she will help you arrive at a solution. See, no matter what, the fact is that you know yourself best. You have a lot of challenges, everybody does in life. The solution to all that challenges lies within you. But in the hustle bustle of life, we don't really connect with ourselves to arrive at the solution. That is what a good coach does. Using structure tools and techniques, she will help you connect with your inner self to understand what are the challenges and fears that are keeping you away from achieving the goals that you want to, and help you unravel these challenges step by step and enable you to achieve your goal. With me specifically, my coaching program is called Empower Yourself. Okay. Having me as a coach means the first session spent only on articulation of goals. Because sometimes people don't even know what they want. At most time, even when they say they know what they want, they aren't specific. Okay. So let's say somebody says, I want to be more confident. It is an intent, it is not a goal. When you define it as, okay, next time when I give a presentation in front of 10 people, I should be able to speak in fluent English for 10 minutes without pausing. Now that is a specific goal. Okay. So the first session is spent on articulating your goals, defining the timelines, envisioning it, and identifying the time roadmap that you would want, a realistic time roadmap that will enable you to achieve that goal that you just defined. And subsequent sessions are all about, unraveling those challenges one by one and doing those activities which I call focus goals, one step at a time, which will enable you to go closer to that vision that you see for yourself. That is what working with a good coach does. Okay. With me, empower yourself will empower you to achieve your dream, especially with regards to your careers and time. It will help you to be in control of your career and time.
I love that. One of the biggest things that you mentioned was the spending the 2 hours on your own. Now, a lot of people will consider that a waste of time, but so much comes out of nothingness and stillness. A lot of us aren't used to doing that. We're so busy on the rat race, just doing, 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 doing. But in those 2 hours, how can one still one's mind enough to really tune into yourself and get all of the solutions? I'm pretty sure you've got a practice. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's yoga. How do you get yourself into that?
So it's actually a very simple exercise that I use, Gertrude. Now it has become a habit because I do it every day. So it has almost become as common as, brushing my teeth or taking bath every day. So it's a 3-step exercise that takes less than a minute. I call it the 3-step heart exercise. So when I started, I closed my eyes. Now I don't even need to do that. But people, for somebody who is starting, they can close their eyes and focus on their right toe. Okay. They can wiggle it vigorously for 5 times, and then slowly take their attention right up to the right elbow. Then again, concentrate on the right elbow, count up to 5, and after that, focus the attention on the center of the chest. That is where our heart is. This first step is heart breathing. Then, essentially, I inhale and exhale. I focus on my breaths. I focus on the sounds that my breaths make while they go in and out of my lungs. So my focus is completely on this heart breathing. Okay. So I am with my breaths. I am basically filtering out all the noise out of my life then and there. The last step, which I call heart feeling, I remember the last time when I was happy. It could be sometime in the past, it could be, as recent as the hour before. That, the exact incident doesn't matter. But I remember that happy feeling when I was in that moment. And carrying that happy feeling, essentially, I again refocus on listening to my breaths. So I am in that happy space because I'm reliving that moment while, breathing in and out. What this helps is because, automatically I'm tapping into a past happy memory and bringing it to my present. That helps me to be very still and mindful. And after again, taking 5 deep breaths, now I'm back in the moment, and whatever it is that I want to do, that is when I start my day or I start my important task. This also helps me when I'm in a stress the environment around me is chaotic. When you're an entrepreneur, as I'm sure you will agree with me, get true, things do get chaotic sometimes, and you don't know, where where is that escape corner. You really can't escape. This is
Yes.
something that you can do sitting right there. So this is my stress buster also. When those moments when things are getting a little too chaotic, just tapping into myself, remembering past happy space, listening to your breaths, and bang, again, after being mindful, now I am in the new positive frame of mind to deal with the problems that life will throw at me, which it will, but that's
I,
okay.
I love that. You know, you would think it would take a long time, but it's just 1 minute that you can use to transition into that state. You use happiness, I use gratitude. I tap into everything I'm grateful for. My three beautiful children being healthy and alive, my grandson. And once my emotions focus on those four people in my life, everything kind of falls into place. This has been such a pleasure connecting with you today. My last question, well, second to last question is this. If time was an illusion and I could take you into the future, you're now 100 years old, you're this amazing woman who's helped thousands of people change their lives and live healthy, vibrant, fruitful lives. And you could have a conversation with the future you at the age of 100. Based on how you're living your life right now, what would you say to her?
That you have lived your life to the fullest. Keep on doing what you are doing. That is what you are here for. I think that is what I'll say to her. Keep on doing what you are doing. Yeah. And that's a very, very honest answer, Gertrude.
I love that. My last question is there anything I should have asked you that I left out?
I think one thing is, how can people reach out to me? How can they give me an opportunity to serve them? So they can reach out to me via my website, which you are streaming right there in your channel, www.lifecoachsmitadijain.com. Uh, I am happy to have a complimentary strategy sessions the first time when I meet someone new. So right there on the website, there is a booking tool on every page. Take advantage of that opportunity as per the calendar. Book your time. We are going to have a 45 minutes to 1 hour, just a heart to heart conversation where you can see how I can help you, and I will get the opportunity to serve you. And you will go away with some takeaway from that first session yourself. So take advantage of that. I'm a person who loves meeting new people. So if nothing else, there will be an additional friend to your list and to my list. So do take advantage of this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming online today and sharing your wisdom with our community. I look forward to enticing you to participate in our next upcoming summit. So stay on the line when I say goodbye to everybody. I would like to share that opportunity with you as well. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in from around the world. The Her Story movement is attracting some phenomenal women who are bringing tools, methodologies, support to help you get from where you are to where you want to go. Please reach out. This is another amazing young woman who could be your coach, who could help change your life. Goodbye for now. Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Shmita, thank you so much for this interview.
My pleasure, Gertrude. Great connecting with you. Stay blessed.
Bye for now, everybody.
Oh, are we back here?
Yes, we
When she
are.
says goodbye, it always confuses me. I always think, that's it. We're here.
Wow.
Wow.
She's amazing, hey?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
one of
Yeah,
the things that
those are really very interesting things she's talking about.
she spoke about.
Those are practices that you pick up. I
Mm,
know I do something similar to that when I'm falling asleep at night. When there's overwhelming things in my
writing.
mind, I do that type of thing where I bring you know, a joyous occasion or positive thoughts to my head, and it gives you a nice feeling inside, and
Mhm.
you're able to relax and drift off, you know.
Yeah. And she spoke about spending time with self, you know, and that time is really precious, you know. And then
Yeah.
the focusing on three things to do in a day. What are the three most important goals I have to achieve for the day? And I like it that Gertrude then brought in the to-do list, because my to-do list never ends, eh? It goes from 50 to 60. There's
That's
always
right.
something
It's
to
too
do.
much. That's too much. It's too
And
much,
then at the end of the day, I feel like, oh my God, I haven't done anything. And
right?
frustrated. So really, that was good. Is that our next speaker?
It is. I finally figured out what was going wrong with the videos. So I think we have the bio for
For
we would like to
Val.
read the bio and then we will play her video.
Okay. I'll read a bio. Val Jones is a professional skater, speaker, author, and peak performance consultant. As an Olympic hopeful figure skater, Val competed against such well-known athletes as Christy Yamaguchi, Tonya Harding, and Nancy Kerrigan. Unfortunately, Val suffered a career-ending knee injury while training the triple lutz. With her dreams shattered, Val made the decision to pursue a college degree, something she says she was never on the roster. So recent years have proven to be quite challenging for Val. All of those double and triple jumps have taken their toll, resulting in 8 major surgeries in 9 years, seven of
Wow.
them of the orthopedic nature, and one sinus surgery resulted in her contracting a deadly infection known as MRSA. In fact, she contracted two different strains of MRSA, which is quite uncommon, the treatment of which ended in Val's kidneys failing and her being taken off the protocol. Her strength and pure determination is what got her through. Val credits this to her dad, whom she lost tragically when she was 13 years old. She jokes that nobody's goal is to be a subject matter expert in overcoming obstacles, yet here she is. She has taken her knowledge and experience as an elite athlete and coach and is now bringing that information to individuals and organizations who desire to achieve their peak performance. She says it is her greatest joy to see her clients succeed. I only succeed when they succeed. She said, no truer words have ever been spoken.
Wow. That's quite impressive.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Val Jones. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I am 52 years old. And this is my story. It actually starts off as a very innocent family outing when I was 5 years old. I'm the youngest of seven, and a brand new ice rink had opened up about 5 minutes from my house. My dad was a former semi-professional hockey player, and he wanted to introduce us kids to the love of ice. And the minute that I put my skates on and I got out there, I knew that that was my thing. I literally felt like a duck in water. And so a dream was born. And it was cemented in my heart when about 6 months later, I watched Dorothy Hamill capture her Olympic gold in the 1976 Winter Olympics. And so I trained and I competed and I was loving every minute. It was hard work. I don't know any other 6-year-olds who got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to train. And I did so. I trained 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I was 6 years old. I was so serious about my Olympic dream that my mom and I moved from our family home in Sacramento, California to the Bay Area so that I could train with Olympic and national level coaches. And it was there I got to spend the next 7 years training right next to Brian Boitano and his coach. I was so blessed. My mom and I would leave the Bay Area on a Friday night, go home to Sacramento, and spend the weekend with my dad and my other siblings. And then we would travel back to the Bay Area on Sunday night. And we did this for nearly 3 years until, unfortunately, one night we got home. My dad wasn't feeling well and he had a massive heart attack and died. And I almost quit skating. But I was this close. But I didn't, and because I knew that that's not what my dad would have wanted. And so I returned to the ice with a new commitment and a profound sense like I was doing this now for him as well. And I could see my Olympic dream. It felt so close that I could almost reach out and touch it. Until one day when I was 18, I was training a jump called the Triple Lutz, and I blew out my knee. And I specifically remember sitting in the orthopedic surgeon's office, and he said, I think I can put you back together again, but it's my professional recommendation that you never skate again, you don't compete. And with that, my Olympic dream died. And you would think that that's where my story kind of ends, but that actually is where it kind of starts as well. Now, I'm not a Debbie Downer. I'm not. You guys, I'm not a Debbie Downer, but here's what I know to be true about life. If you have a heartbeat, chances are that at some point in your life, you are going to experience pain, disappointment, and heartbreak. And I need you to trust me when I tell you I know all those three things. Skating, I didn't know it at the time when I was 5. Nobody told me that ice was hard and it would have complications and consequences later. So in the last decade, I actually have had 8 surgeries in 9 years, all but one of them being of the orthopedic nature, including a new back and a new hip. And keep in mind, I still have that knee to be replaced as well. My only non-orthopedic surgery was sinus surgery, and it resulted in me contracting a deadly complication called MRSA. I'm an overachiever. Yes, I am. I contracted somehow not only one strain, but 2 strains of MRSA. 2. I'm literally in the history books of the CDC in Atlanta because it's almost not even documented. The treatment and the protocol for MRSA, it's a lot like chemo is to cancer. Like chemo will either kill the cancer or it might kill you, unfortunately. And it's the same with MRSA. And so the medicine was very strong. One of the medicines I had to push 1 cc every minute on and then take a minute off and then do it again. And I did this for 10 minutes, 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off, because if I pushed it all at once, I would immediately go into cardiac arrest. The other medicine for the other strain, the complication of that was kidney failure, which I went into on day 27. And I can remember sitting in that doctor's office and my infectious disease doctor said, well, here's the good news. Kidneys are highly regenerative. We're going to flush it out. We're going to give it everything you got. That's the good news. If you make it through the night. And I remember him saying, if you make it through the night, and every part of my competitive being got called upon. I knew I was literally in the fight for my life. And obviously I made it through and have just learned a lot from that. So when I tell you I know heartbreak, pain, and disappointment, I do. I really do know all of those things. But I feel like I'm on this mission. I got to experience my dad in a way maybe that my older 6 siblings didn't. We spent a lot of time together driving around to skating competitions. And I can remember specifically my dad telling me, Valerie, every check you write to regret, you're going to have to cash in one day, and it's going to hurt. So live your life in a manner in which you write as few checks as possible to regret. And so that's been my mission since I was 13. I believe, and I know this is going to sound cheesy and corny, but I believe that there's a champion in all of us. And I believe we all want to have a gold medal podium moment. And the work is hard. It is. Nothing worthwhile is ever going to come easy. But to be able to look back on your life and say, I wrote as few checks to regret as possible, that's gonna be a really good feeling. And I would almost bet all the money that I have in the world, we're not going to ever regret the things that we did. It's going to be the things that we didn't do. We didn't go on that trip. We didn't launch that side hustle. We didn't take that scary job. It's going to be the things that we didn't do. And so my job as a coach is to get you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because nothing about success is going to be comfortable. My story continues a little bit later. I know 2020 and COVID has impacted all of us. I mean, I haven't met a human that hasn't said that they were impacted in some sort of way. 2020, up until that point, I was primarily just a keynote speaker. That was my only source of income for myself, was being that. And I lost all my speaking engagements 2020. But all at the same time, my youngest moved out of the house. And so I was left with all these feelings of inadequacy, not knowing where is my place? Where's my place in my family? I'm not doing all the mom things. There were no more games, no more PTA, no more teacher conferences. I didn't know my purpose even within my own family. I didn't know my purpose within the workforce because my livelihood got taken away from this. And so I did what any 21st century woman would do. I took to the internet and I Googled and I researched everything about midlife crisis. And shockingly, I found a lot of things that led itself to menopause, but not a whole lot to midlife crisis. And I know that being in a midlife crisis has a negative connotation to it, but I think of it as this is an opportunity for us women to recreate and reimagine a life for us now that the kids are grown and gone. It's a chance for us to recapture a version of ourselves that perhaps maybe we gave up willingly so that we could raise those precious babies. And so now my mission is to still help as many women as possible to write as few checks to regret as possible, but also to give them the confidence, the clarity, the courage to step into the second act of their life and to really create a life that they love, that they are excited about, and that they can have those feelings of being fulfilled. When I speak with audiences, I often close my keynote with three things, and they're three things that are near and dear to my heart. And the first one is, you are not what happens to you in life. You're not. It is an event. It is not a description, and it certainly is not a label. The second thing is there are two things you get to control in your life: your work ethic and your attitude. That's it. That's all you get to control. So if you can manage those two things, you are so far ahead than if you didn't. And the last thing is never be out of the fight. Never. When my infectious disease doctor told me if I could make it through the night, I had to fight. And I knew that I couldn't just tap out. I had to fight with everything that I had. And there is something to getting up and going again. Listen, when I was figure skating, it's not like I came onto the ice that day and I said, okay, Val, today we're going to learn the double axel. And I went out there and I did it perfectly on the first time. No, it's not how it happened. I don't know if Malcolm Gladwell's theory on 10,000 hours to perfect something is accurate or not. I suspect that it is. But here's what I know. I probably fell 10,000 times before I ever landed on my feet. And each and every time I fell, I had a choice to make. Was I going to sit there and pout on the ice, which got very cold very quickly, or was I going to get up and go again? And I did. I got up and I went again. And if you beautiful women take only one thing away from me with this talk, it's I hope you have the courage to get up and go again.
Wow, Val, life has certainly thrown you a few curveballs. But what I love is just this ability to bounce back. Now, a lot of times when people hit rock bottom, they don't realize that there's an opportunity for growth. If you could go back, let's say, to that fall, that injury, and give somebody right now 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you to this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be to help them overcome the challenge they're faced with right now?
I would say, is it happening to you or is it happening for you? That would be the first one. Second, I know it's hard and it's not culturally, cool to accept the problem or the trauma, but what has happened in my life is my trauma and my pain has been the answer to somebody else's trauma and pain. And now I get to pay it forward. And the third thing is, what if you come out on the other side better, stronger, and faster? What if you learned things that you couldn't have possibly learned if that event didn't happen to you? And so be open to what is the lesson that I need to learn? What skills do I need to develop to get on the other side of this? Who do I need to become to get past this obstacle? That would be my 3 bits of nugget.
Wow. Absolutely beautiful. Now, let me take you to your future. Time is an illusion, right? It's a construct human beings have put together. So we get to work at 9 and finish at 5. If I could teleport you to the 100-year-old you, that wise woman who has lived this phenomenal life, she's sitting on a rocking chair, surrounded by her dogs, her cats, her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and you could have a conversation with her based on how you're living your life right now, what would you say to her?
You did a good job. No, you did a great job. You did the fantastic. And you would have made Dad proud. And we lived a life in which we wrote very few checks to regret. That is what I hope she would say.
I love the analogy of the writing of these checks. That's going to stick with me for life. It's true. It's what we're depositing into the universe. My grandmother used to say that every day comes with a blessing or a teaching. So our blessings, the bad things, there's just lessons to be learned. And she would say, do good deeds every day. Keep depositing good deeds. They come back tenfold in very, very extraordinary ways. So you've really touched on a few things that really resonate with me today. Absolutely wonderful. So my last question is, was there anything I should have asked you that I left out?
The question that I get asked most often is if I had a chance and I do I regret blowing out my knee? Well, first of all, it was an accident, so it wasn't like I had a choice. But no, because if you would have told 18-year-old Val sitting in that orthopedic surgeon's office that I was going to do what I do now and get to speak to thousands of people and move and promote health and wellness and coach some of the coolest people on earth, if you would have told her that, there's no way I would have believed you. So it's taken me a long time to heal from that, but I think the truest expression of healing is when you can look back and be thankful. And I'm so thankful. My life today would have not looked anything like it would have had I gone on the path. And it's an unknown, right? I won't ever know what that life would have looked like, but I sure love the one that I have.
Fantastic. So now you are empowering other women. It's not just about you. What is 50 on Fire all about?
50's on Fire is a place for women who are experiencing a midlife crisis. It's a place for them to come get clarity, courage, connection, and the confidence to step forward into the second chapter of their life now that the kids are grown and gone, or grown and almost gone. And it's a place for us to come together, give them knowledge, skills, and really a belief in themselves to step forward.
Fantastic. Val, thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your amazing presence. Thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Herstory movement is attracting some phenomenal stories. It just blows me away every single morning when I get to do this and meet people like you, Val. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show.
So I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another phenomenal woman. Have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thank you, Val.
Bye.
Hi, Stacy. Are you ready to be on camera? Sorry.
I am very excited. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Yep.
So, ladies, what do you think of Val's presentation? Wow.
I thought it was great. I didn't really get to hear most of it because I just came from working. But
Okay.
from the few seconds I heard, it was super empowering, and she seems very passionate about the people
Yes.
she serves.
She is. And that she actually overcame the infections that she had,
Yep.
and is alive today and doing so well. That's amazing. And the power of determination and the
Yep.
strength of the mind. Wow, that was awesome.
Yep.
Welcome,
Terry,
Stacy, and
Sarah?
thank you so much for responding to
Yeah.
coming
Thank
on
you.
our show.
What's up?
It's always exciting when the power of social media actually works.
Yep.
So at least just so you know, I met Stacy. It was through Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs, correct?
Yes,
So
I
you posted
recently.
something.
Yep. I recently am
Say that
trying
again.
to regrow my business, and I have a coach. And in the program, they give you advice how to grow your following organically, which is what I was doing by posting in the groups and with paid ads. So I'm paying for ads to get people to my group, as well as posting different Facebook groups, and hopefully that will expand my following.
Wonderful. So what we're going to do is we're all going to exit the stage and give you 10 to 15 minutes, Stacey, to tell us who you are. What is your backstory?
Okay.
How did you start this business? What inspires you? And then we will come on and we'll have a Q&A session where our panel can ask you questions. And Lisa, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome, Lisa.
Lisa, do you unmute and introduce yourself quickly, Lisa? Where are you coming in from?
I'm from the US. I'm in Georgia. So I'm Alicia
Wonderful. And
Foot,
we met through
and I am, well, I'll tell you a little about myself in a minute, but I'm Alicia Foot and I live in the United States.
Fantastic. All right, so we'll start with Stacey. Just hang in there, Lisa, and then we will come to you. Thank you, ladies. Thanks so much, Stacey. I'll just move everybody out before you start speaking.
Perfect. Hey. So is there anything specifically you'd like to know, or should I just go on?
I want you to first start with a very personal reason why you do what you do.
I would say for me, it's life and self-experience. What's up?
Stacey?
I'm here.
So tell us your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and start with a personal story.
Okay.
Who you are, so we get an essence of who we're talking with.
Excellent. So my name is Stacey. I'm from the United States, between New York and Washington, D.C. I split my time in between both places. I am 32 years old. I've been teaching yoga for 7 years before I expanded my business. Prior to that, I was just a practitioner of yoga. And the reason I'm here is because I help. For me, I've evolved more from just a yoga teacher. I'm very into holistic wellness, whether it's meditation, journaling, mindfulness through your everyday life. I like to bring yoga off of the mat into everyone's lives. I have a lot of programs to help transform people's lives through these holistic techniques. And hopefully that's something I could tell you guys a little more about as we get deeper in the interview. Anything else? Cool. So technically what brought me to start my business was years ago. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. I had issues with confidence, social anxiety, and I discovered yoga. And I realized I was trying to traditional therapy, talk therapy, counseling. And while it helped for the moment, it wasn't allowing me to generate a lifestyle that would help cure whatever was ailing me, that anxiety, that depression, that lack of confidence. I would essentially go into an office, talk to someone. I wouldn't really feel anything. I wouldn't really get the answers that I was hoping to receive. When I first walked into my yoga studio, and this was middle school back in 2000, early mid 2000s, and I was doing the physical practice and I liked it. I noticed there was a connection between philosophy and the practice. But then I also noticed the studio that I went to was offering other forms of healing. They had meditation for depression, they had a loving kindness meditation, affirmation, and all of this was something that intrigued me. I figured, hey, the traditional ways of healing aren't working. Why don't I go ahead and try whatever my studio is offering? And as time went on, I really became immersed into living a holistic lifestyle. I was mindful about what I ate, how I felt. As I got more into meditation, the affirmations really just sunk into my system. But they say when you say it and when you repeat it and you feel it, you believe it. So that really started helping. And then as time went on, I figured I'm going to become a yoga instructor, but not just a movement instructor, a general holistic wellness practitioner. And I developed this program called 21 Days to Rediscover You. And in there, we really we focus on 3 different weeks: getting grounded, self care, which is something we all really need in this day and age, as well as letting go. Often we hold tight onto stuff. And that doesn't just use the movement, it uses the methods that helped me heal. We use journaling, essential oils, different mantras, different meditations, different breath work. And this really becomes a lifestyle. Unlike, talk therapy where you go once a week, maybe twice a month, you're really incorporating these self-healing modalities into your everyday life. Eventually it becomes a part of you. So I'm really hoping I could get, really spread the word about this. Even when I teach my yoga classes, I make sure to make it an immersive experience, not just the movement. I have a history. I've taken a few psychology courses. I was told that I'd be better at integrative medicine. So instead of going for an MS in yoga therapy, I just sort of took so many holistic courses: Reiki, chakra healing, 500-hour yoga certification. And I use that to help heal people in the best way that I can. That's about it for now. I think if you have any questions and you want to pick my brain a bit more, I think that could get me to answer.
Okay. Hi, Stacy. How are you? I think I left you a phone message and an email to make sure you were going to be on today, and I'm so happy to see you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I had it in my calendar. I was so excited.
Okay, great. What we're looking at is looking at the entire body. It takes more than just talking, trying to heal people, medicine. Sometimes you have to look at the mental aspect and the spirit, because our lives are like a triangle, mind, body, and spirit all wrapped up, and you're in the middle of that triangle. Okay. And those changes, and the triangle actually means a change of some sort in Greek. And so we have to look at that. So you took a very positive and an early look that doctors they weren't doing it for you. Even in all of your areas of your life. And so we have to get into that. So it's mindfulness is basically what it is. Can you define mindfulness for us?
I would say mindfulness really, and I'm going to put it into a yoga perspective and then translate it, because that's how I really got my start. I don't know if any of you have taken a yoga class before. If you have, raise your hand, do a little peace sign. So generally when you're on the yoga mat, you're already practicing mindfulness. You're breathing with intention. For instance, when you inhale, raise your arms up, you're inhaling in. You're listening to your body. If you can't do that downward dog, you're mindful that your wrists are hurting, so you modify it. Perhaps you do a child pose. And this isn't just about yoga, it's about you're being mindful on your mat. That's the mistake that so many people make in the yoga practice. They want to move, they want to get a cardio burn. I get it. Running feels great, but when I come to my yoga mat, I'm in it for something else. That's where mindfulness starts. Then you do meditation where you're mindful about how your breath is. You're mindful about the mantra you're repeating, the phrases you're saying, the prayers you're meditating or reiterating. That all starts and translates to how we are off the mat. Once we get enough practice, which is what my program hopefully will help people with, we're mindful about how we communicate with people, what we really want to do versus what other people expect of us, how we eat, how we take care of ourselves. For instance, as I became more mindful in my practice, I realized, hey, What do I need for myself? People thought I should be doing. So it could be as transformative as that. And I'd say mindful is knowing yourself better than anyone else. Yep. Does anyone have any other questions?
Every day comes with a blessing or a teaching. That's a comment in our section, a live comment. So, what do you think about that comment? Every day.
I would say every day should be a blessing, and then we'll get to the teaching part. Every day is a gift. People often wake up in the morning and they say, "Oh, I'm in a bad mood. My rent went up, my mortgage went up, I gained a pound." All that negativity. They don't often look at the blessings to be here in this beautiful earth, to be breathing, to be healthy. You know, you should feel blessed every day and look at the positive before you dwell on all the negativity. And that's, once again, something that I hope my program could help people with, really becoming more uplifted, just learning how to let go of everything. Once you learn how to let go, then you realize there's more room for the positivity, thus to focus on a blessing. A teaching is that every day we learn something new, whether we make mistakes, whether we don't. Never think of it as a mistake. Think of it as learning for the next period. For instance, today I was walking and I was in the store and I wanted to try a specific drink. I said, you know what? Maybe it's good. The branding looked really good. I tried it, threw it out, was not good, did not agree with me. I could have said, oh, I wasted my money on that. I wasted my time going into the store. No, I know for next time what I should be putting into my body and what I shouldn't be. Does that make sense?
Yes, that definitely makes sense. It really does. Sometimes it's human nature to complain. I don't understand why, but but it is. And normally I try to see the positive side of a lot of things, and so I don't know. That's just something we do, especially in the United States. I'm talking to you from Indiana, so
it is.
so I can relate to that. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yes, I think
A lesson.
For some reason, as human beings, we are set on a negative default. Because like she's saying, like, wake up in the morning, instead of focusing on the negative, we focus on the positive. It's a new day. I am alive. I'm breathing. I can see. I can walk. Just focus on the positive. But the past 2 years, I think the past 2 years have shown us the power of positivity, because this COVID, how we had to deal with it was mostly mental. We had to be aware. I think that's a mindfulness that Stacy talked about. What's happening right now? What am I thinking? What's going through my mind? What am I feeling? Is that the right kind of feeling? How do I need to be feeling like that? Yes, that we had so many losses. We lost loved ones, family, and we
restrictions and things that were just not going the way we would normally do things. Just everything it unraveled for a lot of people. Everything, everything. Just
the lockdown. You remember the first 2 weeks for us.
Just forget it, man. When you're talking about a spoiled drink at a variety store, that was nothing compared to what we went through for 2 years. That would be a good day, having a crappy drink. There was so many bad things happening.
And you'd think that just the first 2 weeks, they made us feel like if you just walk out of your gate, you're gonna meet COVID, you know?
Yeah.
Catch it.
Oh, yeah, that the anxiety of not
Yes.
knowing where it's floating around, you know, like
Exactly.
you had no idea. You thought, well, is it on my groceries and I'm going to eat my groceries and I can't go
I
in the
used to
grocery
wash
store and
everything.
I've got to
Remember when
eat.
we
And
washed the
it was
fruit?
I
crazy.
washed everything.
Do I have to throw my clothes out when I go outside and come back in? Am I going to throw my clothes out? Like, what do? You know, it was like we were all sort of like anxiety. Talk about anxiety. That's when I started doing yoga every morning because I was like, oh my God, I've got to relax.
And that's why I developed this program, because I feel like especially something about the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just me, but so much happened. Not just
Yes.
COVID, but wars and
Yes.
just everything. And like self-care.
Yes, it became
something
priority,
that
prioritized, because if you didn't have it, whoa.
Right.
Like,
and I also want to make it accessible to everyone. Like a lot of programs out there, or a lot of programs that I have taken, said, oh, self-care. Well, you know, you have to go to the gym, the infrared sauna, the spa. That's not something I could always allocate my resources to or have time to. So for me, when I was really busy in university, I'm building my business, I use these tools that I give people to, like I said, incorporate into my everyday life. They become part of me. You know, I don't tell people, well, you have to come to the US and take my yoga retreat. That will come, but you have to first do it on your own. And, you know, there's so many programs out there for self-care. I'm just hoping that, you know, with mine, they could really learn to not just breathe, but really tap into the mental and emotional state. And that's where I do the journaling, where they figure out what it means to get grounded. What does it mean to have self-care? What does it mean for them to let go? Because this isn't something people normally think about. They just say, I want to feel grounded. I don't know why. I want to care for myself more. How? Why do you want to care for yourself? So I really tap into those inner emotions. You know, and it's just the 3 parts. If the program goes well and people like it, I'm happy to expand it. But it is 21 days. I know people are busy. They want quick results. They want the best results in the quickest time possible. So that's why I started it with 21 days.
Okay, that would be a fantastic start.
Yeah.
I had a niece over the weekend, and she's concerned because she has anxiety.
Yep.
And you know, and she really talked about it being mental. I said, well, the first thing you have to do, she has a therapist now. I said, but I'm not a therapist. The first thing you need to do is search inwardly and find out what the cause is.
Yep.
What's causing the anxiety? What situations are triggering that?
Yes.
Because your therapist is going to ask you that. When do you feel the most vulnerable?
That's the problem that I've had with traditional therapy, is that, you know, and I've been to many of them. I've been to a ton of counseling, and I found that it didn't allow me time for inner reflection. It was more like, how does that make you feel? And I'm not saying it's bad for some people. It's great. Counseling has been around forever. I'm just saying for me and other people out there, it may not be the only thing to help them. It's a cumulative variety of things.
Well, I think what you're doing is more of a mind-body connection instead of the external things coming, and you're not dealing with the external right away. You're dealing with the internal stuff, so that the person becomes strong internally before they go outward.
Right. And, you know, the results don't happen overnight. You're not going to sign up for my program or do the activities that I give you and then within a week feel good. You'll have the tools within 3 weeks once you complete the program. But it will take practice, it will take dedication. You know, whenever I pay for a program and I sign up for one, it will work. You just have to be dedicated to it.
Mm-hmm. It's just the same with all plans. You can have a plan, but if you don't work it,
Right.
you have failed already. You know,
you have to work in it.
Yes,
and you wonder why you don't get results.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of unlearning, a lot of unlearning that we
Yeah.
have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
a
to
lot of
really
times-
believe in it too.
Go ahead.
You know, you really have to believe in
Yeah,
it. You can't
of course.
sign up for a program or do this program if you're not into living more of a holistic lifestyle. If you think that, you know, yogic activities, was it meditation, journaling, self-reflection, you know, even essential oils that bring aromatherapy brings cure to you. If you don't think that's for you, or you're not willing to give it a chance, I understand, but you really have to be into holistic medicine and wellness, yoga, the whole lifestyle. This is something that's really emerging in modern society. You see more yoga studios, you see more, you know, just more yogic lifestyle products being sold everywhere, more mind body programs. It's really becoming popular. And you have to ask yourself, you know, what's the reason for that? Holistic medicine, in my opinion, whereas traditional medicine doesn't help with, is that inner reflection. You're not just a problem. You know, you go to a counseling session or psychiatry, oh, you're depressed, you're anxious. Holistic medicine, integrated, there's so many names for it, really gets to the whole mind, body, the whole aspect. And that's what I always liked about it. Oh, why are you sad? You know, how do you feel when you're sad? You're not just a diagnosis, you're a person.
And you mentioned journaling, and I really believe that when you write down your emotions,
Yeah.
that you do become a little bit more aware of what's going on, because you can go back and read it, and make sure you date it, because it'll give you some trail as to, okay, on this day I felt the same way. Did I have that same feeling? Did I, because you jotted something down.
Sure, that makes sense.
And take a look at it.
Yeah. And what I strongly believe in is, one thing I like to offer people is a private Facebook group. Facebook, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful and best way to connect with people in terms of social media. And it's not enough for me to be your guide and for you to have these activities and inspirational emails. I bring people, and I mainly target women around midlife, so like 40s and up. I've connected with those kinds of women the best. I feel like they're at a stage in life, one of the many stages in life, where things are changing. They're getting older, their kids are getting older, if they have kids. So they need that sense of care. You know, they really do. In that,
I think it's interesting because you had mentioned you're in your 30s, so you're quite young to be, doing this practice. It's almost, it's good because you're probably going to be able to attract young people like yourself, and to start at such a young age, to start doing that and be mindful about yourself is really great. It's very important to start somewhere like that. And you're starting, and not to say, just because you're young, it's great. It really is wonderful. Because and I'm sure you have a lot of peers that you can help, as well as older people. I mean, older people, we all have problems, but the younger people, that's where it starts. You start having those problems. Where do they come from? They start when you're young,
And for me, it's like, things. Mainly women. Like I said, us women, we carry a lot of emotions. We're more nurturing. Women, we're just different. And sure, my main target are those women in their midlife stages, but that's not to say that a gal in her 20s and 30s who may be going through another
type of thing
change in her life isn't welcome into the program. So like I said, even though it's those midlife women, but really any woman, this is a female collective, any woman that feels like they need to just grasp it all and just, need, whenever you're going through changes in life, just need that self-care, need to let it go. And,
it's a good practice. It's a good practice to start. Just, I really think what you're doing is great. It's amazing. I think that you'll be very helpful to a lot of people.
I actually have, if you click here, if you want to get, like I have like a free PDF. All you have to do is put in your email and it gives you like a preview of a list of self-care initiatives. It's the second one. And this is for you guys or anyone tuning in. And when you click on it, it has my list for self-care. It does need to be edited, but you're here, so you know what it's all about. Completely free. And then at the end, there's an option to join my Facebook group if you want to take it to the next level and connect with other females, so you could see that you're not the only one who needs this.
Well, that's also very helpful for people as well, to feel that they have a group to help them get by with. That's very important to a lot of people.
And also just to get perspective, get ideas from And part of the self-care process, one thing about yoga is community.
Right.
That's a really big aspect. So having that community through this program, through a Facebook group, is another way of bringing yoga off of the mat into our daily lives. So there you go there. You could click on it. You could get a free PDF. It really just shows you how to incorporate little self-care activities into your life, option to join the Facebook group. And, then I'll have your email and I'll send you some pretty cool. It's the second one. Yeah. The one that says ABC Namaste. So if you want to do that.
That gibberish there. It didn't make any sense. Well, here
we go.
Yep. So definitely do that. I'm happy to send that over. And
that's great.
Yep. Do you guys have any questions for me?
How long have you been doing this?
So it's funny. I've been into yoga, I'd say, since 2003. So when I was in middle school, I would go to a yoga class whenever I was feeling sad or lonely, and I found that I would go to the yoga class. There I would get my community.
Nice.
From there, I got into like holistic living, meditation, breath work, because, when you breathe in and out, you tend to feel a lot calmer about yourself. I would say I was a yoga teacher for 7 years, but I'm trying to grow my business since 2018. So hopefully this is the year that it grows, and not just for me, but just to affect, help people, help transform their lives, help them through the healing process. We need it now more than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Okay, we'd like to thank you, Stacy. If no one else has any additional questions,
I love to answer.
Okay.
Not that I can.
Okay. All righty. Stacy, I do have one more. I'd like to share one more question. I'd like to ask. Okay. That question would be, or statement would be that, say, for instance, now you're 100 years old. Okay. That's a long way off. But if you had a younger you, okay, and at what three statements would you give her at 100 to the younger you?
I'd say it's hard to say that now because I'm not 100 yet,
Well, use
but
your imagination.
I would say stay motivated, never give up.
Okay.
Today, it's so easy to give up on your dreams, get lazy, get intimidated, just stay on that path. Number two, believe in yourself. That's something that I'm still working on. As you could tell, I'm through this healing process along with you. So you're not in it alone. I'm not just guiding you, I'm doing it with you. So even to this day, I'm still learning to, believe in yourself, believe in your message, believe what you have to offer to the world, and believe that it's valuable. And I'd say another thing is to know your worth. Know that everything you have to offer may not affect everyone's lives, but it will affect the right people. And just to always believe that.
Oh, that was really good. Really
Thank
good.
you.
Yes. Okay. So is there anything that we failed to ask you or that you would like to add at this
Not
time?
necessarily. I'm happy to give you my website as well if you want to stay in touch. You could blow that up, and there you could, on the bottom, see my social media handles from Facebook to Instagram, and generally just read about new offerings that I have. I do a few classes in a lavender farm. That's for my local students. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, you're welcome to stay on with us for the rest of the day. And if you have something to do, you can click off at any time. But we'd like for you to hear the rest of our summit for the day, if that's possible.
Yeah, I will definitely try to stay on. For sure. I will definitely try.
Okay, great. I'm trying to get your, there you go.
Yeah.
Gertrude's a little faster than I am.
Awesome, yeah.
All right. Okay. So we'd like to say thank you. And if there's anybody out there that is trying to get through COVID mentally, make some changes in your life, you must reflect. And in order for anything, you have to be mindful.
Yep.
You have to believe.
Yep.
And you have to know that some things will work if you only believe and have hope.
Yep.
Yeah.
And women should definitely stick together.
Oh, yeah.
Females should definitely always stick together.
Yes.
I know that sounds corny, but it's so true.
No, our with this Herstory Summit and also with our Crossroad podcast, it is a movement. We are trying to encourage women to step out, to do, and to help one another.
Yeah. And I'll say one more thing because I know you have another, probably if it's someone else. I can't tell you how many times I have felt I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to work a regular job. I'm not going to pursue this business. And then I told myself, I can't do that. I have to keep trying, take different programs. If one method isn't working, try another method. And that's really what us women need, just that motivation to keep going.
Okay, great. So we thank you, and please feel free to stay on with us.
Oh, I definitely will. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome. Okay, where are we? Our next is
that was
Lisa's
lovely, Stacey.
Okay.
Lisa is on. So there she is. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
So Lisa, because we don't have your bio, please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're based, how old you are, and start with a personal story so we get to know you. We'll let you speak for 10 to 15 minutes before we come in with our questions and comments.
Okay. I'm 45. I live in the United States. A transformational coach, talk show host, and I am about to launch a business course. Well, I am about to offer it a beta this at the end of this month. I've been in education for 20 years. So I taught for 20 years high school. I've taught both in Jamaica and the United States. And I preach. I do work with individuals one-on-one. I help people on many different levels. My aim, basically, my passion is to push people into their purpose. Get them to understand that you were created by God with a preordained purpose inside of you. And there is something special about every single individual, that there's that one thing inside of you that no one else has. And someone or people are waiting on you to offer that to them. And a lot of people, go from day to day, because what I strongly believe is that the graveyard is filled with possibilities. And so many people die without ever getting that chance to become who they were really created to be. And so I have taken on the charge to take on as many individuals as possible and be their guide, because coaching is different from counseling. And a lot was said about counseling earlier. Coaching is when you take someone from where they're at into where they're supposed to be. And so my aim is to do that for as many individuals as possible.
Okay. You said you were going to do business courses?
I'm currently offering a course to help individuals write their business plan, because a lot of times, a lot of people, especially those small entrepreneurs that do not need any funding, usually don't have a business plan. They just get up and say, okay, I'm going to start a business. And so then you get into the middle of that business. I don't know who my customers are. I don't know what my market plan is. And in a couple of years before I stopped teaching, because I'm not in the classroom anymore, I had the opportunity to teach entrepreneurship. And I did this with my students. And so I wrote the course, and I've been sitting on the course for maybe almost 2 years. Oh. And so I'm now ready to launch that course. And like I said, I've also written 3 books. One of those books is Broken But Not Shattered. Again, it's a book that it was written to help individuals to push them into their purpose. The title is Broken But Not Shattered, a journey of intentionally shifting from pain into purpose. And it's available on Amazon. And so the book it's also somewhat of a journal, because at the end of every chapter, after chapter 3 through 6, it allows individuals to reflect on who am I in what was said here in this chapter. Who am I? Where do I fall? So it allows them to reflect. So it's not a book that you can share with somebody, because it becomes very personal.
Okay. Oftentimes
what is your motivation? What is your motivation for doing what you do?
For me, let me tell you how I ended up writing the book. I have been through, I think my life has been a life of just painful experience after the next. And so people have always asked me, how do you do it? How is it that you're always bouncing back? But like the last chapter in my book says, thrive in your pain and stand in your discomfort. And that is what I've done all my life. So I wanted to help others to get to that point, to understand that, yes, you're going through something. Yes, a lot is happening around you. But a lot was spoken earlier too about the mindset change, getting your mind in that positive frame where you get up every single day knowing, not just thinking, but knowing that you are full of possibilities. regardless of where you have been, regardless of what you have been through. And so I want to share, if I can say, a little of me with others to help people who believe that, okay, there's no hope for me. So let them understand that regardless of who you are, there's always hope. And I tell people all the time, I don't do problems, I do solutions, because every single problem has a solution. It might take time. It might take a lot more effort than the next person, but every single problem has a solution. And the solution can be to change everything that you're to revamp. But there's always a solution, a way out.
Okay. In finding
I
that
like
solution,
that.
yeah, I do too. Yeah. In finding that solution, I just don't understand why people just give up. They give up because it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the main reason why they give up. Is that what you find?
Yes, and hence how I ended up in coaching. I was actually going to do a master's in mental health. And I ended up in a conference. I saw Les Brown, and I love Les Brown, because and one of the quotes that I love from Les Brown is that there's greatness inside of you. And that's what I tell everybody. There's greatness inside all of us, regardless of who you are. And so I was on Facebook, saw this conference and jumped on. And then I ended up in a conference from that Friday through to that Sunday. And I was seeing all these coaches, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I have always been doing. I've been doing this all my life. This is who I am. And so I went ahead and did my coaching course to help others, because I realized, yes, I had a passion for mental health, but mental health would have placed me in a box. And now coaching is now giving me that opportunity to transform lives. Hence my title, Transformational Life Coach.
Oh, that's powerful.
Now, you and I share something in common in terms of life throwing these curveballs at us all the time. And what I want to know from you is, how do you bounce back? What is it that happened? What skills did you develop that allow you to bounce back? Because a lot of people get knocked back with one thing and they're down forever. But you keep coming back. What is that?
One of the things, I'm going to share a personal story, but before I do that, one of the things I talk about is coping mechanisms. You have to know who you are. And so one of the things that I do with clients is first allow them to do a personality test to understand who you are. Because no two persons have the same personality. Everybody is different. And so in order to move forward, in my assessment, I have to let you find out who you are first for us to move forward. And when you find out who you are, then you can understand then how will I cope? Like for me, I would take power naps. I'd be having an issue and I'm like, okay, I'm working on this, and it's not happening. So before I start tearing my hair out, I go to sleep. And I call those my power naps. And so I go to sleep, and when I wake up with that revived spirit, like, okay, I'm going to take this on and I'm going to come up with a solution. So then what works for me will not necessarily work for you. And another thing, and hence the title of my book, in anything that you do, in getting through where you are at, getting past where you're at, you have to be intentional. And that's why the subtitle of my book says, intentionally shifting from pain into purpose, because life is going to come at you. And life is going to come at you from every side. It's going to come at you on your job. It's going to come at you from the naysayers. It's going to come at you in your house, in your home. You know, there's so many different areas that life will hit you from. And so you have to be intentional. You have to understand that I'm going to do this. I remember about 2 years ago, my grandmother died. I was here. At the time, I was working on my coaching course. I was also working on, understanding, I didn't just get up and say, I'm just going to do this. I was going into courses. I was in classes with people from South Africa. I was buying courses, Les Brown. I was buying everybody because this is what I wanted to do. And so I wanted to learn from the best. But my grandmother died. And I'm married now, but I wasn't married then. I was single. And so I was coming home to an empty house. And I remember I had to tell myself that, yes, I am breaking. This is breaking me. But if I stop right now, I will not get to where I'm going. Did I cry? I did. It's okay to cry. I cried. And I remember I went home and I sat in the sofa and I said, Lord, just hold me. And I went on the phone with a friend of mine and I said to her, right now where I'm at, I wish I had someone to just hold me, but there was no one there. And you have to understand where you are at. You have to understand your circumstance, but again, you have to be intentional. Yes, this is what is going on with me, but I have to get there. I have to have that tunnel vision. I have to look and see. And Stephen Covey, and this is another quote that I love. He says, see your end from your beginning. And so you have to be seeing where you're going. Is it always easy? No. But again, my word is be intentional. Be intentional to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, your intention creates everything.
Yes, it does.
The energy behind your intention creates everything.
Yeah. And I like when you said you have to get that rest. Gertrude already knows that. That was my coping mechanism because my body heals itself if I just shut it down and let the Lord work through me while I sleep, while I heal. Everything's going to be better when I wake up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to be intentional about what it is you want. You can't always say how you're going to get it, but just relax and regroup.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, regroup. Yeah, like that. Yeah. And I learned from some of the best too. I read. Les Brown is one of my favorites. My favorite saying is that if you fall, make sure you fall on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
You can get up.
Instead of looking at the floor. Yeah.
So true.
And he said something very powerful when the pandemic came. As I was watching, like I said, I was, in his courses and so on. And he said, every problem brings with it opportunities.
Exactly.
And that is one of the things every problem brings with it opportunities. And so even the pandemic itself, the pandemic launched a virtual, I'm trying to find the terminology I think it was just a platform.
It's a landscape.
Yeah, that's the word right there.
It's a landscape that didn't exist before.
You can reach the reach, is so much wider. You can reach people, like right now. I've never met anyone on this platform, but no, people are not afraid to reach people virtually. And before the pandemic, so the pandemic birthed, it birthed something positive. Yes, I heard the negatives about the pandemic, but I keep saying to God, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what the pandemic brought. Yes, there were a lot of negativity. We had to stay home. At the time I was still teaching, I had to be home virtually, teaching my kids. They weren't doing what they were supposed to do. But then, always look at the bright side. What did I gain? Yes, I lost, but what did I gain? So a problem will always allow you, open up new possibilities for you.
It does. And that's what this pandemic has done. If people would just stop and think about it. I always say the Lord is slowing everybody down for a reason. Okay? You need to listen, go within and find out why is all this stuff happening, not just finding out what the pandemic is and whatever, but he's slowing everybody down, you know? And we need to each just look within, figure it out. But it's a lot of people, we don't figure it out because sometimes we don't want to know the truth, right? Sometimes we fail to pick up the lesson and learn the truth about ourselves and about others as well. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's wonderful to meet you. So my last question for you is, as an entrepreneur, if you could go back to that younger woman who went into the world of business, maybe there's somebody who's listening to us right now who's wanting to try, doesn't have the resources, the money, the skills. You could give her 3 nuggets of wisdom. What would that be?
I'll touch first on the money. And I said this to a client recently. I actually helped the person to publish their book because I have a team that we do that as well. Money is everywhere. Money is everywhere. And like I said, we go back to possibilities. And let me just give you a very easy example. You want to start a business, and let's say the business allows you require, say, $5,000, but you don't have $5,000. The banks are not loaning you anything. There are different things that you can do to get that money. A lot of us have a lot of stuff lying around our homes that we don't use. Women especially, we buy a whole bunch of stuff that we never wear, never use, and we have a whole bunch of stuff sitting in our garage that we're about to throw out in 2-3 years. Turn that into money. Turn that into cash. I'm living in Georgia. There's land. We talk here in the United States about organic. What about planting something?
The connection dropped when she was about to give us some real nuggets there, Terry.
I know. I'm glad you came back.
Money is everywhere. Money is all around you. You just have to figure out. So that's one. And I had to learn that. In college, ran out of money. And so with the little I had, in Jamaica, we call it wholesale. I don't know what you call it in other countries. I don't see them here in the US. And so I went to the wholesale, bought a whole bunch of stuff with the little I had and started turning it over. And so up to the point when I left, I had a full-blown store on campus. And I started with a little that I had. And that was when I realized I had a passion for entrepreneurship. And I could tell you other things. Another thing is that you don't give up if it does not work out. I talked earlier about revamp. I have a clothing line. I started out the clothing line as Jamaican Twang, but I realized that limited my reach. And so I pulled it in, I sat on it, and people were asking, is it over? No. And I said to them, no, I'm revamping. No, I'm pushing out new and different. So sometimes the business plan does not work out the way that you wanted it to work out. But revamp, pull it back in. Maybe what you're doing is not right for your market, is not right for your customers. Maybe you need to change your customers. Something needs to change, but don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. And last, and my passion, you need a plan. You need a plan. If somebody had told me this in my earlier years, a lot of the businesses that I started would have gone through the, they'd gone through the roof. But I didn't even know what a business plan was. I didn't even know that there was such a word. I just know I wanted to start a business, and so I went ahead and started it. When you have a plan, as the common saying, if you don't have a plan, if you don't, I'm trying to remember. If you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. Let me put it that way. That's not exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah. It means that
it's not coming to me right now, but it's a common saying. You need a plan, because without a plan, you're about to fail. So for me, those are the 3 nuggets. There's money in everything. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Revamp. And you need a plan.
Mm-hmm. It says if you don't work your plan, you plan to fail.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I use that all the time, so I know it's important to plan.
Wonderful, Lisa. Now, Lisa, we would like to invite you to run a workshop for our community at the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we do these online summits in 1 month. In the next month, we want a transfer of knowledge, and people run workshops in the next month. So I will email you information and send you another calendar invite for us just to connect one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get to understand what the movement is about. We are setting up women's cooperatives throughout Southeast Asia, throughout Africa, the Caribbean. In Grenada, we're working with the Ministry of Culture, showing women how to make things that can be sold on the cruise ships that come into the islands. There's a lot of missed opportunity for women who are making handmade goods to create a decent living with the cruise ships that come into their harbors. So I would love to see how we can collaborate with you. I'm excited that you're from the Caribbean, because that's an area I'm very passionate about going back to, just because I love the Caribbean, but I love the spirit of the sisters that I met when I was in Grenada. And there's some magical things happening in that space. So thank you for saying yes to this interview.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Wonderful. And I do apologize about my background. I just thought it was going to be a pre-interview, because I have a talk show, and what I usually do is pre-interview individuals. So I thought this was it. So I was in transit. So I do apologize.
No, it's fine. We got to hear from you. So we're excited. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And please check out my book. It's on Amazon. Broken but Not Shattered, A Journey of Shifting from Pain into Purpose.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was a good interview.
It was.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So we will go on to Melody.
I do not have Melody's bio. I've asked for
it. I emailed it to you.
Okay, I've asked for it several times. Let's see if I have it now. Okay. Looks like I have it. Okay. All righty. Yep. I will read the bio. Melody Vachal, Director of Aging Services at Arise Cares in St. Cloud, Minnesota, in the U.S. She's a speaker and consultant on topics of caregiving, developing a care team, and self-care for caregivers. She loves to share her unique perspective of being a caregiver and being the recipient of care. Her journey brought her to share her passion with self-care for caregivers, from a dream to a reality. She is also a speech-language pathologist with extensive experience gained in over 30 years of pediatric therapy. She has specialized training in the evaluation and treatment of culturally and linguistically diverse learners. I present to you Melody today.
Okay, well, hello, all of you. My name is Melody Vockel, and I am 55 years old, and I'm coming to you live and in person from St. Cloud, Minnesota, where it's gloomy today, but that's okay. Oh, gosh. So my story really started 23 years ago. I had a son who was born normal and healthy. Actually, and this was following the year before, I had a child who we lost. We had a child who was just with us for a day.
Yes.
And then our son Isaac was born. And when Isaac was born, he was healthy and typically developing, but he had a brain issue that happened. He lost oxygen. And so after that, he lost his vision.
Oh.
And he began having seizures, and he now has cognitive delays and has cerebral palsy. So that launched me into a journey as being a caregiver. And also, in addition to Isaac, taking care of him, I also took care of my father in his elderly years. So I was working full time. I was taking care of Isaac, plus his two siblings and my father. So caregiving has been a part of my life for a long time.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah.
What a traumatic start to life for you as a young mom. And
Yes.
all of the things that you had to learn in terms of not just taking care of your son, but taking care of your father as well. Now, I know that they say that a lot of times the caregiver is neglected or neglects themselves because you're putting all of your energy and your strength into taking care of other people. How have you managed to juggle those parts of yourself to keep going?
Well, it's definitely a juggling act. I would say it's that sandwich generation, but the sandwich gets a little messy. You got to just keep on going. Thankfully, I do have a faith that has allowed me to find strength in my higher power, which is God. But I have strength in that faith. I have strength in my friends and my family who support me.
Yes.
And I've spent a lot of time in the last several years, especially. I was telling Gertrude I had a car accident 3 years ago, which left me paralyzed with a traumatic brain injury. And so I've spent the last 3 years recovering from that as well. So it's kind of one of those, people say what doesn't kill you make you stronger. Yes. So I guess that there's that. But I'm kind of like that Energizer bunny. I just keep ticking and ticking and ticking. But I have figured out that after I was a care recipient myself, that I actually did not take great care of myself as a caregiver.
Yes.
And so now I'm looking back and I'm trying to spread that knowledge to caregivers that you can't take care of your loved ones if you're not taking care of yourself. Yeah. The old, you can't pour from an empty cup, but I like to say, don't be the char, when you light a candle and then the candle burns down and all you have is that little metal piece at the bottom with the black stuff on top of it that you try to light and nothing happens.
Yes.
So you can't be the char. You can't let yourself burn down so low that you don't have anything to go on.
You don't have anything left.
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to take you back to a few parts of your life. Gosh, you've shared so much in just 5 minutes, and I don't know how you do it, but let's go back to your son's condition and the impact that had on you as a mother. You said you had just lost to pregnancy, and then you had this beautiful bouncing baby and everything seemed fine and everything changed. I read a book once called Welcome to Holland, and it talked about a woman who was packing to go and have her baby. packed her bag, and it felt like she was going on a journey. And then when she got to the final destination, instead of being in France, she found herself in Holland. And the analogy was you have to learn new ways of coping, of being, of accepting the condition that you're in. Tell us a little bit about how you survived that.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I've read that myself, and it really is powerful, because it's not like they say in that, it's not that Holland or that France is bad or Holland is bad and one's better. They're just different.
Yes.
It's kind of apples and oranges. I think one of the things that I drew strength from was the fact that my son Isaac was still with me, whereas my daughter was not.
Yes.
And so I think having lost a child really did help prepare me for the challenges of being a parent of a child with special needs, because I had the understanding of what it was like to not have that child with you at all. So to me, basically anything above breathing was gravy. So as long as he was breathing and, growing, that's not to say there weren't challenges.
Yeah.
Obviously there were challenges, but the fact that I knew loss of an even greater level, it helped prepare me for being with Isaac. And the great thing about Isaac is he is joy and light and love, and he brings so much. Anybody who's ever met him, he has this amazing belly laugh, and he just is like the joy maker of he's just a wonderful human being. And so I've been very blessed that he's even with his difficulties, he's been a healthy child. He's grown. He continues to develop.
Yes.
But it has been a challenge. There's, it's a lot of challenging having caregivers in your home and having people there, and always having to rely on other people to assist you. And you don't get to do the same kinds of things that, your friends get to do. You don't get to leave at the drop of a hat. You don't get to, make plans or necessarily take the vacations that other people are doing. So it definitely is a different lifestyle as a caregiver and as a parent of a child with special needs.
So what are the lessons that you've learned? I'm hoping that there could be another mom who's on this call right now, who's at the beginning where you were. What 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give her? If you were to go back to your younger self and give yourself advice based on what you've experienced and what you've learned over the years, what advice would you give her?
The first thing I would say is breathe. Because so often as a caregiver and as you're racing through life, you don't take that time to just sit and be still and breathe and just allow yourself to have that moment to just be. So I would say breathe, first of all. Then I would say give yourself space for grace. So that you have time, and again, just allowing yourself to find grace within yourself and know that you are doing the best you can with what you have at any given time. It's easy to beat yourself up as a parent in general, and then as a parent of a child with special needs, it can be very challenging because there's all these extra things you have to do. And I used to be very critical of if I didn't get every single therapy exercise done or every single activity, that he wouldn't grow and develop to his greatest potential. So I would encourage you to find space for grace. And then I would say to practice mindful self-compassion and treat yourself like you would treat a dear and trusted friend, and talk to yourself kindly with love and say, you're awesome, you're strong, you're fearless, you can do it, you are enough.
Oh, fantastic. Those are all beautiful lessons that you've learned that you can now impart to somebody else who's going through a similar challenge.
Yes.
So now let's jump to the care of your father, caring for a parent.
Yes.
And the challenges that come with that and the responsibilities that come with that.
It's very different to care for a parent, obviously, than a child, because, they're still your father, they're still your parent. And so you have to honor and respect them as your elder and give them the freedom to make their choices, even if it's maybe something you didn't agree with, but allowing them to still be, responsible for their own care as much as they can. That can be difficult sometimes. My father had congestive heart failure, so there were a lot of dietary restrictions and things. And, after a while of, going and taking his soups and throwing them in the trash because they had too much sodium. Finally, it was just like, you know what? He's like, I just want some bacon and eggs. I'm like, okay, let's just give you bacon and eggs, because there's something about quality of life too at that point. So that was, that is challenging, allowing your parent to, sort of let you care for them.
Yes.
And he would always want to give me gas money. Oh, let me give you gas money. I'm like, Daddy, I'm a grown up. I can take care of my own gas. And like, oh, but I should give you that. I'm like, no, you did your time. You did your time. You raised me, and now it's my turn to help you.
And what an honor that is, to be able to look after your parent.
Yes.
They nurtured us, they cared for us when we were children, and then the roles reverse and you get the opportunity to do the same. It is a real blessing.
Yeah. And I also like to encourage people, like if they are caring for a parent, that I will say too, that one person can't do everything, but everyone can do something. So if you're fortunate enough to have, an army, a team, a village of people who can help you, for me, I was comfortable doing personal cares with my father because I'd been doing them for my son, and it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I had other, family members that wasn't their thing, but they could help by making, phone calls or setting up arrangements, or my brother would take my dad, and take him out and take him on outings, because I couldn't do that as easily because I was home with my son who was disabled. And so we kind of tried to split the responsibilities. Yes. And I think that's really important too, is to try to rely on people that are there for you and, don't have to do it all yourself.
Fantastic. Yeah. Finding that support system, and it might not be family. It could be friends. It could be organizations that are there to prop you up. And so don't try and carry it all on your own.
Yeah.
I think that's really important as well. I want to take you now to your future. So let's imagine that time was an illusion, and that your past, your present, and your future existed in the same timeline, which is true. From everything you've learned from life, if you had an opportunity to talk to the future you, let's say 50 years from now, if you live to the age of 105.
Wow.
What would you say to her? What nuggets of wisdom would you say to your future self?
Oh, that's a really good question. What I would say to my future self, I think the first thing I would say is to be present. Try not to get too far ahead of yourself. Try not to look back too much, but just try to stay in the present and acknowledge and, just actually soak it in. Yes. And I would also tell the future me that you did a good job.
Yes.
And I would say that you brought light to other people and you've helped them find joy in their journey. So I think that would be something I would tell myself, like, you did good. You reached out, you touched people.
That is just absolutely beautiful and a great way to end our interview. Thank you so much, Melody, for coming
You're
online.
So welcome.
It is an absolute honor to meet you. Please stay on the line while I just wind things down. So everybody, this is one of our speakers. Where are you going to be speaking, by the way?
I believe in Victoria, BC.
Victoria, BC,
so
in Canada.
British Columbia. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
if you're one of those women who is sitting on the fence thinking, I'm not sure I can do this speaking thing, it's all about your story and honoring your story. Go onto our website, herstorycircle.com. Register to speak. We are in 1,000 locations around the world, in the UK, the US, New Zealand, Australia. We have the whole of Australasia covered, from Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. Come on this amazing journey and connect with 1 million women who are going to be sharing their stories with us in the next year. Join us. It's an amazing movement. I have met some phenomenal women. I am just so humbled when I wake up every day, Melody, and I get to meet people like you who have lived amazing lives and are willing to share. I really think the strength that women have is in the numbers. It's when we come together collectively and we empower each other, we uplift each other, and that's how we're going to change the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you for coming online. But have a fantastic day. Bye for now. Okay, we're back.
Yes. And
Um, I see.
as you know, I can definitely relate to caring for a parent.
Yes, I know you can. I see
Yes.
Lisa still with us. So Lisa, if you do want to join us on the panel, just come on camera. If you don't, I know you just want to watch in the background. So that was an interesting woman, caring not just for her son, but caring for her father as well. And Terry, this is your world at the moment, looking
It,
after your mum.
it is. It is. I think I put a picture of her on Facebook and all of her uh, Mother's Day hat and everything. So, but she was so, oh, what can I say? She was so excited about Mother's Day this year. And she was excited because I did the cooking. Of
Oh,
course, I catered some of it in.
oh, that is
But most of
beautiful.
it, I did the cooking and I hosted it for the family on Mother's Day. And this morning, she was still thanking me.
Oh,
She
that's
has
just
become
awesome.
so grateful in her age of 92, which next month she'll be 93. And
Wow.
so she, she's got a little short-term memory thing, but she never forgets to thank you for everything you do for her. And, she almost made me cry today because she was just like, and I'm so proud of you. And and I was like, oh
Oh,
my gosh, you know.
that's
And
wonderful.
so, yeah, so I did have to tell her, you did it for me. You did
Yeah.
it for me. So why wouldn't I do it for you? You know? So
Yeah.
yeah,
She did a good job, and now she's just getting the rewards of
right.
the work
And
that she did.
and I have that support system, not only from my brother, I have a brother that's deceased, but my youngest brother is around and he knows whatever I say he needs to do. But we have a church family. And when I am not able to be at church because I'm out of town or have a meeting or something, um, I have what she calls her babysitters.
I
They
love
make
it.
sure she gets home from church, which is only a block away, but they won't
Yes.
let her walk, which she shouldn't be walking anyway. But she's very
Yeah,
independent, uh-huh. And she still
that is
lives by
beautiful.
herself. So yeah, I have several of them. I let them know when I'm leaving and when I'm coming back. And don't forget, she's going to tell you, no, she doesn't need anything to eat. Just go get her something to eat anyway. She doesn't like to be a bother. So yeah,
Oh,
so that support system is needed. And she has neighbors on either side of her, these young guys. Well, they're not young, they're in their 50s, but they make sure that she's fine.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
Lisa, thank you for joining us. I see you came back and you're home now.
Thank you.
I take it you were listening in the background there.
Yes, I was listening. I was listening.
Any feedback for our last speaker? Any comments about caring for elderly or children with special needs? We always just love to give everybody a bit of feedback.
I had the opportunity to take care of a family member, and I think it allows you to see. For me, it just allowed me to see, because I never thought that it was something that I could do, to see, how you can really, it allows you to connect. Eventually the person died, but
Sorry. Yeah.
there was a connection that was made, that you would not have gotten if you were not really there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's something that it's a memory for me that you cherish. It's like, I did this, I did my best. I had this opportunity.
Mhm.
And so for me, I think it's just, for me, a lot was said, so I'm not going to reiterate what was already said. But for me, is that connection, and
Mhm.
just being able to have those memories always with you, to say, I shared these moments. I read to her, we sang together. I did everything else that was supposed to be done, feeding, cleaning, everything. But it's just, for me, it's more the emotional connections that were made.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar experience. I lost my father on the 18th of June, 2018. I had gone home back to Africa for the first time in like 3 years, had met my second husband, was introducing him to the family, and my mother was very ill at the time. My mother couldn't walk. She was bedridden. She had early Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And I started walking my mom to the gate every day. So our main gate is quite a distance from the house. And I'll say, Mom, let's just walk just a few steps. And by the end of the first week, she got to the gate and we celebrated. And I took pictures of my mom just going up and down. I was posting them on Facebook, and I was doing it so I could see if I was making any progress. Because, when you're close to the person who's ill, you can't see whether you're having any effect. Now, I was there for 5 weeks. My parents had a caregiver who lived in with them. And my dad said, no, this young girl needs to go on leave. So you need to take care of your mom. I'm like, Dad, I need help. He's like, no, I will show you what to do. I'm here. And so he showed me everything that needed to be done. There was a day when my mom got really ill. Dad wasn't home. He had gone to church that Sunday morning. So I rushed mom to hospital and I called my father and I said, Dad, I've taken mom in. Please follow. He said, I'm on my way. And as my mother's being wheeled into the emergency, my cell phone rang and there was someone on my father's phone. And my dad died on the way to the hospital that morning. That was the 10th of June, 2018. But I had the pleasure of cooking for him for 5 weeks. I hadn't seen him in 3 years. I cooked for my father every single day for 5 weeks before he died. We buried my father. My mother got really well. I came back to New Zealand in 2019. Then COVID happened. Then I lost my mother on the 23rd of March 2020. So my parents died less than 2 years apart. And I went back on the 23rd of April, is the day my mother died. I was looking through the pictures and the videos I took. I counted 3,000 photographs, 3,000 pictures I took of my mom before she passed. I've got about 250 little short videos, including the last day I hugged her. And I said, I'll come back in November, not knowing with all of these lockdowns and COVID that I would never go back to Africa. So I'm sharing this story with all of you today. In case you are struggling with a loved one who is elderly, in case you're struggling with someone who's ill, it's an honor and it's a privilege to be able to serve. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to help someone who's not well. And with the state the world is in right now, this could be the last time you see them. I didn't know that was the last time I would see my parents. So it might be difficult, it might be hard. Caring for somebody who's ill or elderly comes with a struggle. But it could be the last time you have the privilege to do and to serve. So I'll end this little segment with my little story. We're living through challenging times right now. And it's that personal connection, like you said, Lisa, just getting to know another individual in such an intimate experience, especially in the last days of their life. So we're going to move on to our next speaker, and I do have the bio here for Carmen, and I'll read it. So Carmen is another amazing woman coming to us from the United States. She is a chief of staff I'll read her bio. She's originally from right outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and she found her way to YES Prep School in 2015 as the Director of School Operations. Most recently, she is serving as the Managing Director of Talent Support, remaining focused on the organization's traditional human resource functions, while problem-solving cross-functionally on a variety of projects that intersected with the talent team stream. So we are going to hear from her. Unfortunately, she can't be with us for the Q&A session, but we will give her some feedback with regards to her video presentation as well.
My name is Carmen Darville, and I'm the Chief of Staff at Yes Prep Public Schools. Yes Prep Public Schools is a public school system. We are part of the Charter Network, and our mission is that we will empower all Houston students to succeed in college and to pursue lives of opportunity. So we take students most typically from low-income communities and ensure they have the same access to an excellent education that is free and rigorous to prepare them for college or career or whatever life path they choose. So in my role as a chief of staff, I actually have quite a non-traditional chief of staff role, and I would describe myself as a utility player. I'm the hub for all things risk management, cross-functional collaboration, and supporting my leader, Mark DeBella, who is the Chief Executive Officer of our organization. I lead a variety of departments for the organization, from analytics to communications, marketing, federal and state compliance and grants, advocacy. So I have a little bit of everything in my functional area, but I feel like my truest work of Chief of Staff is to ensure that our staff is set up to be successful so that we can best serve our students and families and deliver on our promise to provide an excellent education. Well, what makes my school or our schools unique, so we have over 25 schools, and we started at the middle school level. So as you might imagine, most schools start with the early years, 5 and 6 years old. And we started with the hardest years. If you can remember what it was like to go through puberty, struggle through middle school, and figure out exactly who you wanted to be, that's where our organization started, because we felt like the toughest work of helping students at the middle school level figure out what they wanted and how to get comfortable in their own skin was exactly where we needed to do this work. And so it's really difficult to find rigorous options for education at the middle school level. So we began at 6th grade and grew our grade level. So then added 7th, 8th, all the way into high school. And we were focused solely on getting our kids to and through college. And then we realized a couple of years ago that our kids were coming in, our students were coming into 6th grade, multiple grade levels behind. And what we could do is start earlier to close that gap. So while we still need great options for middle schools, what would it mean to allow their siblings to not get to 6th grade, multiple grade levels behind? And so 2 years ago, we launched elementary schools right in the middle of a pandemic, opening grades as early as pre-K to begin serving all families to ensure that they had great options for education, even if their local school did not provide great options for them. So when I think of my proudest life or business accomplishment, I first reflect on I have not had a traditional path to my career. The path has not been straight. My life path has not been straight. I am the type of person who has always run towards the fire and not away from it. And so when I think about risk management and like my biggest accomplishment, I really think about leading our organization through the pandemic. We decided that safety was our greatest priority. And so miraculously, we didn't lose a single student or staff member over the course of the last 2 years as we worked tirelessly to collaborate with teammates, create systems, processes that didn't exist, advocate for access to vaccines to get our teachers in earlier groups, providing PPE for our educators. And we worked around the clocks for months to secure appointments. I remember getting up in the middle of the night and logging into Walmart and changing my time zone so I could have East Coast access to vaccines on behalf of our staff, requesting testing materials for anyone who desired to receive it so they could test on site at work, so that they could feel safe and not exposing their students. And we ended up creating a whole infrastructure for staff and their families to create access. I remember getting emails from staff members saying like, Carmen, based on the systems that you put in place, not only did I get vaccinated, but so did my mom, so did my vulnerable grandmother and my siblings. And I really did it all in the name of student achievement. How can you learn when you don't feel safe? And so it is my greatest accomplishment because I know our students, like, education is the path that they want to take as a great equalizer. And so what my job is to clear the path to the greatest rigorous learning continuity despite the circumstances. And so many of our students would not have had access to meals, to reliable internet, or even to just strong teaching and learning if we had not kept our doors open. And it wouldn't have been possible to do so without first supporting, equipping, and protecting our staff. And so, as so many professionals do, especially women and people of color, I doubted myself for far too long in terms of what my capabilities were. Through the pandemic, I also launched a business. And I just knew I had so much more to give to the people around me. And I think what forced me to behave differently was setting my self-doubt aside and following the advice I give to so many others to become the biggest, best version of myself to play big for people around me. And so the choice to do so and to really minimize my own self-doubt to support both my system and my community made the greatest difference. And I think I'm just so proud of the courageousness of our leaders and principals tackling the most difficult problems. And I just wanted to be a facilitator of their success. So while there have been victories throughout my life and career, I've also experienced great challenge and opposition. And one of the things that has come to mind is when I decided to relocate cities. I was leaving a job, I was pregnant, I had our 1-year-old daughter, and my husband was just starting his career in another city. So I moved separately and moved in with a family friend and restarted my career in a completely new area as a director of school operations. I took a pay cut that reduced my pay by 50% of my previous earnings. We had to cut our budget to match my reduced income. And I was determined to rebuild in a new field to expand my view of what education could look like and could be across functional areas. I knew at that time that even though we had less in our bank account, that I needed to live my value, and the money that we did have available needed to go to our children's education. I started that new job 8 months pregnant in a new functional area with a toddler, living apart from my spouse, hopping from house to house until we secured an apartment. And then over the course of the year, I had a baby. I stepped away from work for approximately 6 weeks. And when I returned, I had a fire that I had never felt before. I received 2 promotions at work. We found my husband a job and he relocated, finding another opportunity. And I overcame the challenges by leaning into my network, living with less to prioritize education, and not making excuses for myself and my desire to maneuver through education in a new way. Over the course of a 2-year period, I was promoted 4 times and earned a job offer for my current role as chief of staff. While that period of life presented so many challenges, it really built my empathy and understanding for both our families and students and so many other leaders whose path is not straight and is riddled with challenges along the way. but it is their values alignment and commitment that will get them opportunity after opportunity to rise again. It is exciting and humbling to have an opportunity to like even share advice with other Herstory Circle audience members. But when I think about what's front of mind for me, and for several years, I led a team just of women who were incredibly aspirational and gifted and, oh my goodness, so talented. And when I think of the group I've been privileged to lead with, alongside, or be out in front for, I'm just reminded about how our margin for error as women is so incredibly narrow. But repeatedly, we find a way to rise and rise again. We're moms, we're wives, we're significant others. We are leaders of team, makers of teams, leaders of leaders, entrepreneurs. And like so much of it, we lead change and excellence at scale. It lives with us. If you look at like any element of history or any family group, we know women lead villages made up of each other. We raise children, we build families, and it is one another that actually sustains us as we continue to disrupt and elevate our respective industries. So keep in mind, I know it gets tiring and it feels like the weight of the world can be carried on our shoulders, but together we can do so much despite the little bit of room we're often left. So when I think of women and how they approach their careers, so often I hear from women across industries that they're not sure how to make the greatest impact or what comes next, or even what's a part of their 5-year plan. And when I think of my own journey, I never said to myself, when I grow up, I want to be a chief of staff. But I'm called for impact, as so many other women leaders that I talk to are, regardless of industry, point in career. It's like, put me in, coach, put me where you need me. And especially over the past couple of years, education has taken a hit. Like, we know education was not prepared to take on the weight of a pandemic, as so many other industries were not as well. But when you think about what contribution you can make, you can lock arms with people in education to offer support, offer encouragement, because we know what our kids need to be successful and to have opportunities, as so many of us have been afforded. And then outside of education, just squarely center yourself at a point of impact. Consider the other women around you and what they may not yet see in themselves, and encourage them and be encouraged about what you can accomplish when you lock arms with other people and take a panoramic view for the change and disruption that is needed across industries to set other women up for success. So I have a daughter whose first name is Rowan, Rowan, and she carries my maiden name. When we decided to have children, we committed that regardless, my last name, if I was going to take his name, would bear the name that I carried throughout my life, which is Rowan. And so our daughter has just like such an incredibly important role in my approach to doing this work. And I'll never forget, I was in my room. Anyone who knows me knows I always have my computer around, and being in risk management work, it's important to be available. And I was plugging away on my bedroom floor with my computer on my lap. And Rowan came in there and she said, "Why are you always working? Like, why are you always doing work when you come home?" And I said, "Hey, you know all the opportunities that you have available to you? I just want other kids who look like us and don't look like us, but have a different zip code, to have those same opportunities." And so sometimes I really struggle when those students or families need something from me, and it comes through at all hours. And she just kind of sat with it. Rowan's she was 7 at the time. She just turned 8. And I could just feel her processing the information that I shared with her. But like, any mothers of girls know, like any mothers of daughters know, it's a little bit of head to head sometimes. And like this fierce love and respect. And I think it was in that moment where Rowan understood for the first time what my job was, why it mattered so much, and like this just deep baseline respect we have for one another as women who do this work. And so Rowan, since that day, has never asked me, why do you have out your computer? And I think for the first time, she truly understands that I took on work that is so much bigger than me or her, and it's really part of the movement of what we believe should be true for all families. So I carry Rowan with me, and she is my first mirror, the person who keeps me the most honest for how I show up every day, how I live through my values. When I come up short, I want to make sure that I deliver for her. And not just when I look myself in the mirror, but when I look at her, she can be proud of who she sees.
Oops. You're back. So that was yet another amazing young woman.
Wow.
Interesting to watch how educators had to react and respond to this virus. The challenges they had in keeping their staff safe and keeping the children safe as well.
Yeah. As an educator, by degrees anyway, I always ask my nieces and nephews, what's going on in school? Did you do your lesson? Are you having problems? Give me a call, and they have parents that are working with them, but it's just the educator in me. It's like, value your education, because that is something no one, and as a Black female, no one can take that away from you. And so that's why I learn everything I possibly can, because I am valuable.
It's absolutely priceless. You're so right.
Yes.
Absolutely priceless. Very, very exciting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So, Miss Terry, how much more time do we have? Is Lisa still with us, or has she gone? I think she's in the background there somewhere.
She's in the background, yes.
All right. So I think Tracy, there she is. Hey. Yeah, so any feedback for the last presenter? I don't know if you have any small children, how you were impacted by COVID.
I have a son. I gained a son through marriage, but that's my son. But during COVID, I had to teach. I was still in the classroom. And I like what you said, we have to have a lot of respect for, and I'll always be a teacher, for what we do as educators. It was not easy. It was, again, like for me, I just always tell people, I just try to always see the best in things. I gain a lot of skill sets that I never had before. I had to learn, and the good thing about it was that the school that I was at the time, we were online. We were using a lot of virtual tools, and so I was already getting practice. But it was different. Not senior kids, and I call them my kids. And I said I taught for 20 years, and so now you're out. They're not there. Children are sleeping on you. And a lot of people would say, they're expecting the same results, but it was not easy to give the same results that was expected. And so as I listened to the previous speaker, and I listened to her journey and, all the changes, all the implementations, again, I'm just going to say, when there's a problem, it is time for, it opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. She said, they started at elementary school. And earlier today, I was saying to someone that a lot of people the psychologist will tell you that it's those kinder years. Anything you want to teach a child, teach them in those kinder years. So it was important that they implemented that. And I think her staff recognized that. And I just lift my hat off to all educators, at this point. This week, we celebrated Teachers Day
Mm-hmm.
in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're celebrating Teachers Week here. I'm not in the classroom and I'm doing so many other things. I'm not keeping abreast with everything that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But teachers are not given credit for, all that they do. We are the ones who, create everybody else, the doctors, the lawyers, everybody. And, I just lift my hat off to the individual who came earlier, and just to say to her, you are doing an awesome job. And just keep shining and be that example, not just for your own child, but continue to be that example for all the children who need you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
You're most welcome.
Wonderful to get your input. So I think we have one more video left. Tracy is our next presenter. I will read her bio. Oh, okay. It will not let me play the video. Why is that? We've had quite a few little technical glitches with the playing of the videos today and yesterday. And I am not sure why. Let me see. I do have a backup, but I would have really liked to have played Tracy's. All right, so I might just play an alternative video. Heidi is another amazing woman. So let me see if I can queue up Heidi's and find her bio. Technology is great when it works. When it decides not to work, throws us little curveballs. So let's see. Same thing with Heidi's. My last resort, which I do have a solution to.
Yes.
Okay. Is a recorded video that is online. I will share my screen and we will watch another interview. I'm prepared for it all, Terry.
Yeah, for the last couple days, it's been something else.
Zealand. Welcome back to Herstory TV. I am here with yet another one of our amazing speakers coming to me all the way from the UK. Angelica, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
All right. Okay. My name is Angelica Breukers. I'm 62 years old and I live in the UK in Oxfordshire. And my story is basically that I was born into domestic violence, experienced emotional and physical and mental abuse.
I was just calling you to let you know there was no picture and no sound coming through on my side. You're muted. You're muted, Gertrude.
All right. So I think we'll
Okay.
call it a day.
I
Technology
think
has
that
definitely
was
put
the
us.
sign, okay? I believe
not
that was
muted.
the sign. Is Lisa still with us?
Call it a day, Terry. We'll call it a day. I think we had a good run.
We did.
But definitely the technology is challenging. And we'd like to thank Lisa for joining us. I can feel she is a sister, and we will be doing more with her as we go forward. So thank you so much for being with us, Lisa.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you to everybody who tuned in today. That is the end of the Herstory Summit in May. We'll be back again in July the 1st to the 10th. So if you have a woman who has a story to share, go onto our website, the Herstory Circle. It's an absolute pleasure, Lisa. Thank you for being with us. Register to speak, ladies. We need more stories to uplift, inspire, and energize. In the meantime, have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. And Terry, thanks again for everything, for being here every single day, supporting the movement.
You're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Terry, can you see if you can end the broadcast from your side?